Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Menasha Budget Review Session to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could have the roll, please.
Alderman Eisenach. Here. Alderman Sevnik. Here. Alderman Hammond. Here. Alderman Lewis is absent, as is Alderman Tom Grotti. Alderman Ted Grotti. Here. Alderman Rapella. Here. Alderman Nichols is also absent.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is public comments on any matter listed on the agenda, and this evening there is no one from the public here. So we'll move on to the Public Works Department, and we have Director Youngworth. Pardon? Oh. Okay. Go ahead, Laura. Apparently I need to.
Are we ready? Okay. Good evening. So I am Laura Youngworth, Director of Public Works here for the City of Menasha, and we also have Corey Gordon, our Deputy Director of Engineering, Thad Brown, our Deputy Director of Municipal Operations, and Travis McDonald, our Public Works and Parks Superintendent. And I am advancing slides. I'm going to turn it over to Corey right away. He is going to speak to our road projects that we have completed this year in 2023.
So in 2023, here we go. 2023, we completed a number of projects. We did a number of streets in the Jefferson Park area, 3rd Street from Conomac to the bridge on Brighton Drive, Conomac Street from 3rd to 2nd, and then also Brent's Court. Additionally, we completed the construction urbanization of Warsaw Street near the new Quick Trip off of 9th Street. We did some improvements to Plank Road from roughly Baldwin Street to the railroad tracks, and then we completed the new construction of Community Way near the Lakeshore Ridge Apartments. We also completed a number of utility projects. We relayed the sanitary sewer on Water Street. We completed the underground detention system on the Bryn site. We also relayed the sanitary sewer on 3rd Street.
And we will, the preparatory work on Water Street for utilities is for road paving for next year. Next, I am going to hand it over to Thad to speak to the work that our Public Works group has done.
This year in 2023, we continued with our replacement program. The streets that were kind of on our hit list were around Lincoln and Jefferson Street is what we concentrated on the area. We did complete our complaint list throughout the city, so anybody that calls in with a complaint on a sidewalk, a trip hazard, or a settlement, something like that, that will go and we'll write it down and then tackle them at the end of the year. So that was completed also. We also completed the new sidewalk installation from Warsaw Street to Appleton Street on 9th Street by the new Quick Trip. Also for our street maintenance, we did the intersection of Taco and Main, almost down to Water Street to Main Street, a little past that intersection. We had a lot of deteriorating panels and kind of rough road areas that were completely torn out and fixed by our crews this year. We continued with the mastic that we started last year, and we did Garfield Street. That's around all the joints and cracks and everything that's been deteriorating on that, and it's really smoothed that road out, so we're really impressed with that. This is one of those that not a lot of people know, but this is something that we utilize Fox Crossing for. They borrowed their mastic machine to us, so just one of those things that nobody hears a lot of it, but we do work hand in hand together on that. And our road patching that we have for our excavations, that was all completed for our water, lead water lines, and our excavations that were pulled for permits have been completed.
Okay, moving into 2024.
Well, question here.
Questions, yes.
Yeah, thank you. This is a little different than Sam worked with it last night, but on page 265, Thad, could you explain why we didn't have anything in the budget for 2023 for pavement maintenance, and then now we've got 82,200. So what did we do in 2023
That was put into borrowing funds, and we put it back into our budget this year. That was our crack sealing, mill pulverizing, mastic, the crack sealing. That was put into borrowing money last year, and this year is put back into our budget.
And we are going to be touching on that as we progress through the 2024 accounts.
Okay.
So we will be touching on that as well.
All right,
a little
thank
bit
you.
more.
I will talk about what we just talked about, and that is that you talked about Garfield there with the Matic, whatever.
Mastic?
How did that turn out? Because I still remember going down there and it seemed pretty bumpy.
You're going to get in a 2500, you're going to get a little bit of vibration you're feeling. The smaller trucks, the 1500s, the cars,
When was
stuff
it
like
done?
that. This was done April.
Really? Okay. Yeah, because at some point, that's going to be a major project for us.
Yeah, this is just
Very light.
patchwork, trying
Right, I
to
realize
make
that.
stuff drivable.
I just kind of wondering, in your opinion, do you feel that this worked out? Because that is a terrible
So it
area
worked.
for anyone that lives on that part of Doty Island.
So this worked out very well for us, in our opinion, because we used to put cold mix in it, and we
Yeah.
were back every other week to every
Okay.
month redoing cold mix.
To check
This
it
has
out.
been in there from April and haven't touched it since.
Okay, thank you.
And we used the same product on Racine Street 2 years ago now, I believe it was. So one of the things you're going to see here as we move into our budget is that we are looking at adding a bit more to that mastic fund, if you will, to continue more of this. We do this around a lot of our manholes, and it helps when we're plowing that we're not grabbing with the edge of the plow that manhole, and it provides that seal, if you will, or that edge around that lip of the manhole. So we've been really happy with its use and are going to hopefully continue using it. It's just another tool in our toolbox that we can continue to use for making our roads last. Yeah, and our crews did, I want to shout out to our Public Works crews. They did this entire intersection themselves within less than 2 weeks. They did the 9th sidewalk as well. I mean, they do a phenomenal job. We have a great concrete crew, and these guys do an awesome job. All right, so going to be jumping around just a little bit, and because some things flow into others. So going to hit the capital improvements changes. We did have the capital improvements workshop, but we did have a couple of modifications since that workshop. So I wanted to point those items out. And then we'll move into the internal service funds, which is our public works facility and street equipment. There are some items that have transpired in those accounts that reflect through again to the other accounts, particularly the vehicle rental. And then we'll go into the enterprise funds with our sewage and storm utility, general fund, and then special revenue funds, which is recycling. So with the capital improvements, the modifications since we had our workshop. Page 397. Yes, yep. And I do have page numbers on the slides. I'll try and say that as we go through so that you can get there before we start talking about it. Page 397 is going to have our road projects list for 2023. They are all the same from our CIP workshop. I will be touching more on those, or we will be, as we progress through these accounts, because they are reflected in our storm accounts, sanitary accounts, so you're going to be seeing those streets come back up as we discuss. But the ones I wanted to call attention to were the changes. We were going to have Earl Street completed next year, and that was a cooperative project with Fox Crossing. We still intend on doing that, but not next year. We have had some conversations with Fox Crossing Utility, and they want to do much more utility work than was originally intended. And we do not want to pave a road and have subpar utilities underneath. So we bumped this in our 5-year plan from 2024 to 2026. and then we swapped out for Lucerne. So we put Lucerne in place of, because Lucerne was in 26. So dollar for dollar, it's relatively similar, and we bumped that in place of Earl Street based on those conversations that we had since the CIP workshop. The other one would be Namath Street, Kai's to Nicolay Boulevard. We realized that with the, and I might be saying it incorrectly, but the Family Health Advantage enrollments, we are saving in the general fund roughly $100,000. So we have in the past, up until last year or the year before, had $100,000 to $150,000 in our general fund for roads that has been in borrowing. So we're trying to kind of get that back into the general fund with this addition, and having that enrollment change has helped us to be able to get there. Yes. Namath Street, Kai's to Nicolay. So some of this is also funded in stormwater, the curb and gutter. We will be looking at sanitary laterals to see if we need to capture any with that. And this was a last minute add once we started seeing enrollment numbers. And lastly, and you guys know about this one, you all voted for the Spirit funds to be allocated to the Public Works Facility Phase 2 solar project. So we are actually out, we have advertised for bid already. We are intending to award that contract hopefully in January, and then it'll be done as it needs to be by the end of 2024. So that one is already progressing. Next, I'm going to give a brief introduction, and then I'll hand it back over to Thad here to explain the internal service funds, which would be our Public Works Facility and street equipment replacement. We do have an increase in the Public Works Facility. We'll explain it here in the forthcoming slides. And street equipment did go down. We are purchasing some smaller vehicles this year and then trying to kind of balance the accounts. So we have a little bit lighter of a year this year. We have other years that are going to be increasing. We have a jet truck coming up here in the next couple of years that we need to purchase, and that one's a pretty significant dollar amount. So it'll ebb and flow year to year based on our needs and equipment.
Laura? Question for you. She can't. I can move. On page 397, there's a whole list of Barlow Street, County Road P, all of these listed for $8 million. What's going to happen with all of those streets?
So those were part of the CIP workshop that we had back in August.
Yeah.
Those have not changed. The items such as County Road P, Racine Street, it's for design work at this point in time. The reason you're seeing those in there, we're paying for the design in preparation of the road reconstruction. So County Road P and Racine are both in 2025.
Okay, so these are all the streets that we're going to be doing this upcoming year?
Correct.
And we will touch on those later.
And we will be hitting more, we'll be speaking to those a bit more here further on.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We have a curb and gutter portion in our stormwater account, so hold your thought for that bit, and we have them all listed out there and what we're doing with those.
Okay.
Thad?
I like the way Sam did it.
All right, where are we?
Yeah,
Unless there's questions at the moment.
no,
So this is kind of a general recap that Laura has here for our Public Works Facility that we provide the Public Works Facility Fund through our vehicle replacement. This takes care of the police vehicles, city, Menasha Utilities, Menasha Joint School District fleet vehicles. It includes maintenance of the building, so doing all the maintenance in the building, you know, the heat, the electric, all the funds that are paid out through that. The tools and parts budget has increased. Parts is 10 to 15%. It's around 20 grand from what we have right now. From this year, we're a little over. The parts have increased by that much where we have to do them. We can't just keep holding off. So we have talked with Jennifer and Don and talked to them and let them know we're not going to be over in the budget for the entire 731 fund, but we will be over budgeted in that line item. I guess where this is 24's budget.
So before Thad gets into vehicle rental, I did want to point out the statement here at the bottom. You're going to see throughout all of our accounts, and this is throughout all of the city accounts. I think Don touched on it yesterday in his presentation. We're seeing global increases in all departments, and this is specifically IT costs, wages, insurance, the vehicle rental, which Thad will speak to here. But these items are going to be reflected throughout. We're seeing 3 to 5% kind of between there. So it's property insurance and health insurance. It's not just one or the other, but I just wanted to point that out before he started, that we're going to see these throughout the presentation and throughout all of our accounts this year.
And I want to give Thad a little bit of kudos too. He did have a nice discussion with Deputy Chief Kruger about some of the fire equipment maintenance that we could do in-house. So we're going to do a little bit of testing next year to see how that would all work with us doing some work for them as well. And that should save both the city and the fire department substantial funds if it all works out well. So there's nothing in the budget for that this year, but we do plan on helping them a little bit more, and then we charge it out the same way we charge the school district and the utilities. So good job with that, Thad.
For me. So because recently in our Neenah Menasha Fire Rescue, they're looking for a lift within their budget, which is a movable lift. So if we're purchasing that, but then thinking of doing maintenance at the Public Works facility, should we be purchasing that?
So I can't speak for them, but I believe that the lift that they are purchasing would be for some of the equipment that they would still be doing in-house. So we would be taking some of it on, but they do have mechanics that would still be doing maintenance in-house there.
Okay.
So I know one of the big things that we're seeing through our budget is the 2905 account, which is our vehicle rental. Due to the vehicle rates not reflecting the budget, is the cash balance for Fund 731 and 741. It's been decreasing each year for what we have in our account. 2023, we're projecting a negative cash balance of $182,969, which brought us to raising the vehicle rates to $160,000 to $200,000 was a kind of our number when we got it, to start trying to fluctuate this to get this back to where it's supposed to be. Like I said before, this takes care of everything for 731. That's our public works facility. Our vehicle replacement pays for all of that. So all of that is coming out of our usage from our miles put on, from plowing to sanitation to parks, everything that we have. Our 741, which would be our vehicle replacement, is the hours that is put on the tickets, which actually funds that. So there's two separate ones that are being funded, but it's all together as one.
So how did we get behind on the equipment replacement funding when now we're funding it, but the mayor indicates by increasing the rate that we charge ourselves, but I mean, that was supposed to be self-funding.
Yep, so as you guys know, in 2020, 2021, we took around $350,000 to $450,000 for our public works facility out of this account.
Yep,
What?
there we go.
There it goes.
So,
Yep. So 200,000, you were saying,
so a big thing that,
took
yeah,
us down?
what's
Okay.
it?
You said it took us down, so I'm just helping you.
We're in a negative right now, is
Right.
100 and, what do we have here, 187?
Right. We talked about it a little last night.
There's a portion of that, but then also you have costs post-pandemic that are through the roof. So whenever we purchase vehicles, any equipment, they cost, I mean, I think our garbage truck went up, I don't even know, $100,000 from pre-pandemic to post-pandemic.
Could it also be that we weren't using it as much either at that point? That, in other words, we weren't funding?
Our
Because we
garbage
weren't
trucks were
billing?
running the same amount. It would have affected our dump truck, stuff like that, when we were doing our 5, 6, 7 guys a day and then rotating them out, trying to keep the city functioning. So if a group did get sick, we'd have another group to go in. So we would have been a little short doing that, yes, in hours and miles.
Fuel costs, I'm there, I could list off a handful of things. The fuel costs, equipment costs, wages have gone up, and we have not increased the amount that we're capturing to fund this. We have kept it status quo, and it's gotten to the point where we need to keep up with how things are trending, and that is
Just
why.
from my personal experience, I've never seen this happen, where this fund,
So here's a couple statistics that I brought up to just kind of show you
Okay.
the huge changes that we're seeing. From 2021 to 2023, we have a $76,100 increase in fuel alone. That's just fuel. Our parts, I'm guesstimating $20,000 for that. The contracted services that we have for the janitorial uniforms, restroom supplies, mats, rags, stuff like that has gone up from 2021 to 23, $19,320. Building contracted services, which would be ACC, our mechanical stuff that we do, that's up $10,000 from 2021 to 2023. So, I mean, those are some of the bigger numbers that we're seeing. From 2021 to 2023, from our cash balance that we have, that we're spending each year, from 2021 to 2023, we are up $370,000, and we have not increased our vehicle rates. So where does that money come from? That's the big jumps that we're seeing, and we haven't been changing these rates to be able to keep up with the increase in inflation of everything.
So Stan, typically.
No, I understand
Yeah,
what you're
every
saying.
year or two, we would change these rates. And we've held off a little bit longer than normal, and we've seen those huge dramatic swings in costs of things. So it's kind of a double whammy that we were not increasing them as much as we probably should have, and costs were going up faster than normal as well.
I got a couple, like our dump truck from 2019, our newest one that we purchased, to now the one that we just bought in 2023, is an $82,000 difference. Same truck. Same plow, same dump box, same spreader. It's an $82,000 difference. Our sewer truck, we bought ours in 2012 for $320,000. Nina and I believe it was, Nina was talking about it, and they were getting quotes, and another community too that I was talking with. It's from $650,000 to $850,000 for a jet truck right now, and that's coming up soon. And we're trying to keep our equipment replacement between $500,000 and $600,000 a year, which is another huge reason we need to increase the vehicles are just, they're out of control. They're just way, way more money than they used to be.
well, it's the same with retail too, I mean, with cars and,
Yeah, our pickups went up
crazy.
$11,000.
yeah, it's just, who's buying them though?
And that's the state
Unbelievable.
rate that we get too. We're not paying the factory sticker prices. We get a state rate through the
Right,
bidding process, so.
okay. I'll let you proceed, I shouldn't interrupt so much.
No, the questions are good, and it helps clarify for the public as well. I'll advance then. Thad, if you want to jump to the street equipment, we did touch on this during the CIP workshop as well, but just to kind of refresh and reiterate what we are doing, I'll let Thad take over.
So this year was a year that we're adding money to the budget. We know we're hurting in this account, so we decided to drop it down to, what was it, 430,000? Something around that?
Right.
Somewhere around there. So we decided to.
Pages 159 to 161. My apologies for not calling out page numbers, 159 to 161.
We decided to go with some of our lower valued vehicles that were in need of replacement to keep the numbers low and still be able to keep up so it doesn't just totally push us back too far. So our trackless, this is a $200 and some thousand machine. We're opting to go with an Avant or a Bobcat, kind of like the little green one that we have downtown. It's really maneuverable. You do have to trailer it. It's a downfall, but it's 55,000 instead of 200 and some thousand. So we're trying to look at what we're using and see if we can be a little smarter with our money. Some of the pickup trucks that we have, one of the engineering pickup trucks, we're going to be putting to an SUV. Saves on gas money, cheaper, the vehicle's cheaper. The low bed dump truck that we have here, I just actually got some prices in for that. We're not going to be close to 120. We're going to be more 90-ish, 92,000. So we have some savings there. The 2009 passenger vehicle. Are you guys, do you have the same one I do? Okay. Oh, gotcha. The 2009 passenger vehicle would be the car that Laura drives around. That would be staying a car that we have on there. That one it's very old, outdated, and it's starting to rust all over that place too.
Transmission.
The transmission is going on it. We actually pulled the keys and we're not using it anymore because of parts and what we need to spend. We're looking at getting a skid steer this year. It's a 2013, and this is on our 10-year replacement schedule, so we're hitting this one right where it's supposed to be.
So these numbers here, those are the current years, those?
The 2006 pickup?
The first number is the ID number for the vehicle. The second number is the year the vehicle year.
That you are purchasing?
That it currently is.
That it currently is.
That it currently is. Yes.
Yep. We have a 2006 pickup truck. Right now, we're going to be purchasing another SUV, so there'd be another like Equinox that you guys see out front that we have for engineering right now, or community development right now. And then we have 2 mowers that we're looking at in a Toro cart. So the mowers that are up here right now are mowers that back when we purchased them were 60, 70,000. They're more of the longs of 90,000. So we're going to go with a 0-turn kind of fold down wing system. They'll be able to be trailered, more maneuverable, and hopefully last a little longer than the bigger ones that we have. There's a lot of maintenance on those, so we're trying something new with that one too, and we're cutting some costs there.
So yeah, just to drive home the point that not only are we having to increase these rates, but we're also trying to be as equitable as we can with the equipment we have. Can we make changes? Are there cheaper things that we can purchase in lieu of what we have? And so our guys have done a really good job of trying to look at some options. You know, if we were to purchase a 2,500 truck, we're probably talking at least 15,000 more than these SUVs. So we're trying to downsize to save in that way as well. Can we still get by with what we need to do with an SUV versus a big truck? And so we are doing that to try and make those changes to balance that out as well.
Thank you. What do we do with the old stuff when we buy new stuff? Do we sell it? Do we auction it? What do we do?
We put it on Wisconsin Surplus. It's an auction
So do we
site.
get money from it then?
And then it's the fairest way to have it go
Okay.
out so everybody can bid on it, and then
Okay.
the highest bidder wins.
And then it just goes back into this account type of thing?
Yes. And if we do have something comes back that's just ridiculously low, we do not have to sell it.
Okay.
That's something that we could say, no, we'll hold it.
Okay.
So we're
Thank
not
you.
just giving them away, we're actually selling them for what they're worth.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions with Public Works facility and street equipment? Okay. Moving into enterprise funds, we're going to be in pages 121 to 147. This is the sewage fund and stormwater utility, pages 121 to 147. I'll reiterate again those global increases of IT and insurance and wages and vehicle equipment rental. So that makes up a certain percentage of this, but largely in the sewage fund, the increase is attributed to projects. And we will get into that here very shortly, but just wanted to point out we are down significantly in stormwater utility because we completed the Bryn. That was an over $1 million project, so we're kind of back down to where we were previously. And then increased in the sewage fund, a very large overwhelming majority of that is Racine Street sewer work. But again, we will touch on that here in a bit, and I'm going to hand it over to Commissioner Gordon.
All right. So the sewage fund on page 122 to 128, We did do the rate increase a month or so ago in September. This was geared towards lateral replacement. So that's captured within this. We have the global increases of the IT, the vehicle rental, wages and insurance, things of that nature. Services that are provided in this, we maintain roughly 260,000 feet of sanitary sewer pipe. Part of this also is our costs that we pay to the Menasha treatment plant. We televise a certain amount of our sanitary sewer every year. We also do industrial monitoring, some of our factories and things of that nature. We monitor those. Utility locating, pump station maintenance. This last year, we had some pumps that failed at the 12th Street lift station, so things like that would come out of this. And then sewer manholes and lateral repairs, just general throughout the city. So part of the projects that we're looking at this year, we're looking to do some work on Elizabeth Street. We have some failing sewer pipe there. We have the Racine Street lateral project. We touched on that a little bit with the rate increase. So we're looking to relay the laterals within the street right away and then give the option to the homeowners to do their portion through the assessment policy that we have. Elizabeth Street also, we have $11,000 in here for replacing a number of laterals on that street when we relay that. And then the Conservation North, that's just a placeholder for a project that's out there for. We will have some significant changes in this account in the future. Some maybe more short or near future, some of these maybe a little further out. One project that we're really pushing for here, we'd like to see it done and at some point would be the Fox River Crossing. We touched on this a little bit when we talked about the ARPA dollars, things of that nature. We have the South Shore relay that would kind of be part of the Fox River Crossing at the old Gilbert site. We have some sewer that runs in the river. We'd like to get that onto shore. Garfield Ave, in the area generally from Washington Street to the railroad tracks, that road, we think we're having some issues with the sanitary. That's why you see the condition of that road. Some of that might be with the sanitary. At the treatment plant, the facility, significant change there is with the biosolids hauling. So the sludge and the solids that get hauled from the treatment plant, that cost is going up significantly. The other thing that was part of that is the commission had, through the previous hauler, that contract is ending, they had a sludge storage building. The commission is looking at buying that building for that sludge storage, and then it's spread in the fall on ag fields. And then something that's a little bit further out would be the wastewater expansion for the phosphorus reduction. That's a mandate through the DNR. The numbers on some of those things like that are out there 4 or 5 years, but they're things that we're watching.
And as some of these projects come on, we do have some existing debts that we're paying for the wastewater treatment plant that will fall off. So the hope is that there's some balancing that goes on there, but we will have to reevaluate as these things come forth. Any questions lingering for the sewage fund?
So the laterals on Elizabeth Street, is that just up to the property line or all the way?
It would be just to the right of way.
Thank you.
Again, we would offer it to the residents. We didn't include anything as far as accessible in that, we might get 1 or 2. There's not a lot of laterals there, so.
So it's all the way or just to the property?
It's just to the property line.
Right,
But
okay.
we're not anticipating many residents to take the accessible option on that.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we've been talking about phosphorus and the negative implications of it. What all is going to go into the expansion for the reduction to meet the DNR's requirements? And you said that's a few years out. Could you elaborate a little bit more into that?
So what the commission is looking at is a filtration system. So there'll be actually filters and things like that that are put in there, and I don't know all of the science or engineering in it, but basically the filters remove the phosphorus. So the treatment plant is under a permit through the DNR, no different than we are with our stormwater MS4 permit, and they're being put under a mandate, or they are under a mandate that the plant has to reduce the phosphorus. Exactly to what percent, I don't know, but it's a significant upgrade.
Okay. With that, we'll move into the stormwater utility, pages 129 to 147. Just a couple past the sanitary utility. So in Menasha, we have over 300,000 linear feet of storm sewer that we monitor, maintain, repair, and replace through our engineering and public works departments, collaborative effort. We do annual catch basin cleaning that is a part of our MS4 permit. We sweep the streets and collect leaves. Another part of our MS4 permit is providing public education and outreach, stormwater treatment facilities, installing those, and any other pollution prevention efforts that we are working forward to. Reiterating again, the global increases, I'm not going to list them all off, but just to drive that point home, that is a very large, or I shouldn't say very large, but a portion of the reason for some of the increases that we are seeing. And then just to point out, the stormwater utility rates were last increased on January 1st, 2021. And at that time, it was stated that they would increase 10% every 3 years. So at this point in time, we have been working with McMahon and through an urban non-point source planning grant. We have been for the last 2 years, and they are remodeling all of our phosphorus and solids, and they're going to come back with us for some recommendations, and we will come to you with a proposed plan, whether that be a 25-year plan, 50-year plan for capturing the TMDL and reducing the TMDL, and then that will drive our budget and our rate increase. So at this time, we're not looking at it for the start of 2024, but it will likely come at some point in 2024 once we have that information assembled. We just did not want to jump into an increase automatically without having that all laid out and that new plan brought forth to you. But I did want to point that out, that it's on the horizon. So pages 134 and 135 are the engineering, and a part of that is staff time and equipment to complete designs for all of our road projects, provide construction oversight. We do watch all of the contractors, make sure it's all being put into our standards. And that includes erosion inspections that we complete as well as a part of the MS4 permit compliance. And then also MS4 permit compliance costs. So whenever we do flyers, if we do mailings, that also comes out of there. When we have to replace plants within biofilters, this also funds that. Pages 136 and 137 are street construction. Did you want me to stop?
Yeah, question for Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner, I would like the stormwater pond over on the end of Taco and 9th with the boat landing. When is that going to be constructed? Or am I missing this? Are you going to still talk about that?
No, you're fine. So the stormwater pond at 9th and Taco, we looked at that with the boat launch. Our original thought was that potentially we would buy the neighboring house and utilize that acreage for that. That house was purchased, it's been remodeled, fixed up, things of that nature. So we haven't pursued that as far as trying to buy a house that's been increased in value and things of that nature. We did explore looking at the parking lot and putting the underground detention under the parking lot, but the cost difference in putting an underground system in compared to just an open pond is roughly twice as much. And you don't get the same volume capacity out of an underground pond that you would an open pond. It's not possible, right? You're putting round pipes in the ground and then filling it with stone rather than having a big open hole.
Yeah.
So the capacity, you need more pipe, and the system wouldn't be able to be large enough, and it's not cost effective to put an underground system at that parking lot and just maintain it within the parking lot. We looked at even cheating it out into the road right away because we have some room there where we can, get out into the street and do some of that. And just the cost effectiveness of it right now, it didn't make sense. So
That project is.
I wouldn't call it a hard no, but I would say it's one that's probably not likely going to happen. It's not.
What's the alternate?
Find other ponds. So you're gonna, with the whole planning of the stormwater ponds, there's gonna be pluses and minuses. There might be another pond that we get more value out of. Or we might have a number of ponds that we don't get the value that we're estimating today. When you get into the final design, it might not be exactly what you planned it to be. So if we tell you today, on paper, we estimate we need 10 ponds, realistically in the future, we might need 12 ponds or 11 ponds. It just, because you're not designing every pond, and there's unknowns when you're making estimates and you're trying to foresee how things happen. The other thing, development drives this. The 41 or 441 expansion, if the DOT didn't do that expansion and come in and approach us about the Taco Pond, we'd be getting probably 30 to 40% less removal in that pond. But because now the DOT came in and we dug that pond, or they dug that pond larger, we're getting significantly more treatment out of something like that. The same with the pond up just south of Myron, between Myron and the 441, kind of across from Bonta.
So another question for Corey. On the quick trip over by 47 and Midway Road, they have some ponds there, kind of hidden a little bit. But I noticed our new quick trip did not have any, but maybe because we don't need it in that spot?
No, they're underground.
Oh, they're
Didn't you hear me
underground.
It's
last
underground.
night?
Yeah. On the north side of the parking lot, kind of along.
Well, you just said a pond that is not underground is a lot better than a pond that's in the
I
ground.
wouldn't say it's better. It's cheaper.
Okay.
And it takes less area.
Okay.
So if we dug the same size hole with the Bryn Pond, we would have gotten, or you could get more removal out of that, or you could get the same removal by digging a smaller hole. So there's just a difference. If you take a shoebox and you start laying pieces of pipe in there, the volume of that shoebox is different than the 25 little pieces or straws or whatever you put in there. It's not going to be the same value. It can't be.
Okay.
Square hole, round peg.
Okay. Thank you.
So what percent are we with our obligation with the DNR so far? I mean, we should be happy that we'd had the Bryn project because that accomplished, probably a good 10% or.
Yeah, the Bryn Pond is significant. The Taco Pond expansion is significant, and then the detention pond up behind Myron is significant. And so
I looked at the plan and they're all over the place. When Mark
Yeah.
Radke was around, he designed these and,
Yeah.
there's even one like designed for Shepherd Park. And I think there's even some for Jefferson Park and places like that.
Correct. So in that plan, McMahon looked at that plan and first they probably looked at what land does the city have control over? Well, we have control over parks, or we have control over certain parking lots, and we have things of that nature. So the cost effectiveness of that might be a little better than something else. Might not be realistically a good idea to put everyone in a park or things of that nature. So there's a balancing act.
You
But
should look
there's,
turn around and look at Megan right now.
Come on, nice little pond, you know.
but a lot of that plan, there's different options for ponds in different areas. There might be two options in a given area. You know, it just, one might be a little better for treatment, or the other one might be a little better for you're not putting it in a park. You know, there's
Or
different options.
using up good land.
Or using up good land and things of that nature. So we put the plan out there and we said, okay, we're going to do these ponds and these are the ponds that we're going to get the removal from. The Bryn Pond was a pond that was out there like probably 10 or 15 years yet. You know, it was just something that's out there. But the opportunity came and it's there, so we took it. So that, we got that one now to be realistic and say, okay, we're gonna do this every other year, every 3 years. That plan has to evolve and, you know,
So with the Racine Street project, did we look at any options there with the street retention, these smaller street retention basins?
we have not looked at like rain gardens or biofilters and things like that along the Racine Street corridor. When you say Racine Street, you're talking the project in a couple of years,
Yes.
right? Okay.
And I've seen them where they're built into the project, basically.
Correct. And so we've had discussions about projects like that. With a lot of those small projects like that comes maintenance. Everything
All
has
of them
maintenance.
will. All of them will be.
All of
The
them will
Bryn
have
be
maintenance, but a bigger pond, even though it might be more maintenance, might be a lot easier to maintain than a lot of these little,
Smaller ones.
small things that you tend to want to be pristine and, you know, perfect and things like that in that type of a setting. Where a big detention pond, we go out there, we plant it with native plants, we plant in some wetland plugs and different things like that. Maybe every handful of years, we maybe burn the pond to regerminate the seeds and things of that nature, and it's kind of self-sustaining. You know, the only thing we do is we come in 25 years down the road or something along that lines, and we maybe pump it down and we dredge out some of the solids. that
That's the main
settle.
maintenance.
Yeah, that's, so even though it's big maintenance, it's just easier on, you know, staff time and cost than, you know, we go and cut grass in a park, or you cut your lawn once a week, you know, things of that nature. Maintaining a flower bed at your house is a lot more maintenance than, you know, some of the things.
So the
like that.
bigger question then is, does the DNR feel that we're doing our due diligence when it comes to stormwater?
I have not heard that we're not.
Okay, because it seems like we're taking, especially with, you know, the new sweeper and all these things that we've done, and then with the new Bryn, I just haven't seen any future project that we're looking at. I was actually pleased with the Quick Trips, what they were doing there, because that was quite major. That had to be a significant cost on their part.
Yes, you know, and that's things that we work with community development with, and, you know, as sites develop and in different things, you know, you always have to have it in the back of your mind. You know?
And that's what I was saying last night. You really can't get a huge development unless it's a major funding corporate company or something, because first of all, it's this big rain retention basin, whatever, that they have to build before they even put a brick up.
And in some situations, though,
And
you know,
that's, to me, the DNR in a lot of ways is stymieing development.
the one thing that we can do, though, as a community in a situation like that is something similar to what we did with the Bryn situation, okay? So they own the property. We have an easement to have the system there. we're providing them with the stormwater treatment that they need to have.
Plus, people got to
Plus,
understand,
we're
it's not just for the Bryn.
Correct.
It's for a big area of.
It's like 19 acres of
Yes.
downtown here that goes into that pond. So we have that option, and as we do developments and things of that nature, you know, could we have worked with Quick Trip and possibly said, okay, we'll build this system bigger and, you know, we'll help work with stormwater? It was an option. It just wouldn't have been cost effective because we wouldn't have had a big system there. You still need to have the pipe there. You know, if you have a 12-inch pipe flowing in, yeah, you get treatment out of that, but it's not the same as putting it on a system that has a 36 or a 30-inch storm sewer pipe that has a big regional area that it comes in.
But of course, they're taking care of their water runoff and.
Correct.
So it's not filling our areas.
Correct.
So.
You are correct.
Okay, I think I kind of got off base again. I'll let you guys move on numbers.
I just wanted to point out too, that with some of these road projects, we have a lot of restrictions with utilities. We have, you know, we have power poles and TDS fiber and conduit and all these things all over the place that really, and they're at shallow depths and terraces. So it does make that a bit challenging as well. So there are other reasons for that.
And the mayor and Alderman Grotti don't want to weed all those rain gardens, which we're doing right now at the fire station and the park. Yes, Alderman Tom Grotti.
All right, I'm going to jump into street construction, pages 136 and 137. So out of this one, we typically fund, and this is the work that was done specifically, you know, on Taco Street with the Taco and Main with the intersection, any patchwork we do. So they always need curb forms, concrete, cost of concrete went up, related supplies to be able to pour and pave that concrete. And then stone base, of course, as well, is funded through here for that work. And then Thad, I don't know, since this is the first time this popped up, I'm going to jump to you if you don't mind to explain the concrete breaker. And this is split between 3 different accounts.
So the concrete breaker is an attachment that we have for our skid steer, and we use it for removing the curb and gutter, sidewalks, road panels, things of that nature. And the one we have is wore out, and it's actually a pressurized system, and the pressure keeps leaking out. You can charge it, and it leaks out, so it's wore out. It's ready to be replaced. So that's the concrete buster.
So this is in the general, it's split between the general streets fund, stormwater utility, because there's curb and gutter that is completed under the stormwater fund, and the third is sidewalk, thank you. And we do, I reiterate that throughout here, but just, this was the first time it came up, so because it does work for all 3 of those accounts, it is split between those 3. Any questions with that portion? Otherwise, I'm going to hand it back to Corey here to speak to our road projects.
So again, staying in the stormwater account, pages 136 and 137. This is part of our street projects. This would be the curb and gutter that we would be replacing. So we're looking at Lucerne being one of the streets. You see on here you have Gosling Way Court, Gosling Way, Woodcrest Heights, and second edition of Southfield. Those ones are accessible projects. Those are areas that don't have curb and gutter. So they're listed in here because that's how we fund them, but they are accessible projects. Water Street, again, that corridor, and then Cargis Drive with Jefferson Park, and then with the sewer work that we're doing on Elizabeth Street, we're also looking at repaving that, so there's a minimal amount of curb and gutter that we'd be replacing on that.
And the roads that are starred or asterisked are accessible projects. I don't know if it's.
Yep.
Just to reiterate, yeah. Any questions?
What portion of
So that would be off the end of Grassy Meadows. It's second edition of Southfield subdivision. It's kind of behind the Appleton water plant. It would be out in Randy's district. Yeah.
Bree Court, that tiny little cul-de-sac, Bree Court, and then Grassy Meadows. I was advancing it and looking at my computer, and that wasn't working. The next under stormwater utility would be street cleaning and snow and ice removal, and I'm actually going to throw it over to Thad.
So street cleaning, pages 137 and 138, our street sweeping section of it is going to be our landfill tipping fees, which are going up, same as our garbage, from $49 to $53 a ton. And the sweeper and gutter brooms that we have that were kind of the increases that we're going to see on there this year. The rest pretty much is the same. Pages 138 and 139 for our snow and ice removal under our stormwater is basically having our labor and equipment for our snow removal. So it's all of our streets and everything when we're removing snow comes out of here, not our 1006, our general fund account. The materials that we're purchasing this year, the salt did go up from $76 a ton to $83 a ton. So that's a pretty big increase in that. And the chips, we had like a minimum amount that we purchase yearly, so. I think that's about it for the changes on there.
All right.
Let it keep bringing up questions, but this has been brought to my attention more than a number of times. And I guess it's a balancing act. And that is that there's a feeling in our community that we over salt or use the saline solution in the city of Menasha. And obviously, my van shows that, right? But that's not the reason. But a lot of people have brought this up to me, and I tend to agree. So I just want to, I'm not going to make a motion or anything to remove anything, but I think we really got to look at that a little bit more serious. I know you're going to say safety reasons and less plowing and all that, but it has become a very big cost to our vehicles. So I'll just leave it at that. And that way a lot of people at least know that their voices were heard. And I believe even a couple council members brought it up to me, so.
So on that, on average, during our storms, we're using anywhere from 200 tons a lane mile, or pounds, excuse me, tons, 200 pounds a lane mile to 300 pounds a lane mile. Then it's all set on our trucks. This is something that is temperature related, and we have a chart that we go off of to see what we're doing, how much we're putting down, and then we do have operator's discretion to be able to bump up 100 pounds if they're not noticing that they're seeing any changes in their loops as they turn back around and come down the opposite sides of the streets or a couple blocks away. Normally with a lot of traffic, you'll start seeing that. Through our experience down here and our time that we've been here, we do know that we are lower than our surrounding communities for salt usage and how much we use per lane mile. We are way lower than them. This is just the statistics that we have. So I just wanted you guys to be aware that we are lower than our surrounding communities with that. With the salt brining solution, we will look into that and we will see if we can drop it down a little bit and not make the roads as white. We'll see if we can, instead of 35 gallons, go down to 20 or 30. We can try little things like that, but we really don't want to affect, the safety of it.
Yeah, everything has to be calibrated. All of it is pre-calibrated. But the brine, the use of the brine does help reduce use of salt. Putting that pre-treat down does help stop that bind of the ice and whatnot to pavement. So it helps keep that, breaks that bond, I guess you could say.
If you don't break the bond, you're using more salt because now it's ice, and now it's going to take that much more salt to break that ice to get it off the.
And we did also, I think on average, we get like 43 inches a year of snow, and last season we had 72 or something. I mean, it was we had a lot of snow last year, so we had to use more just due to the amount of snow events that we did have as well.
On the bright side, the city's doing their best to keep the car washes in business. So we've got to do that. So
We will keep an eye out on that, Stan, though, and do our best to see what we can do.
And to put a plug in for stormwater, anybody can sign up and monitor water, like chlorination in water. You can test it at outfalls or at certain areas of the lake and river through I think it's the Northeastern Wisconsin Stormwater Consortium. Any person can sign up and get a kit to do testing for chlorine. They do studies on it, so in your free time. All right, stormwater utility, storm sewers and drains, pages 139 to 141. Out of this specific account, we fund the labor and equipment for maintenance of storm sewer and structures, TVing all of our storm sewer, complying obviously with the MS4 permit and stormwater planning, any repairs to sewer, manhole, and laterals that are required or come up. We also have the rear lot drainage program, so if anybody has drainage issues in their backyard, they can call and potentially participate in that. The pond vegetative maintenance program, which we are right now in the process of assembling an RFP to go out for services for that, and because we do have that in our budget for this year. And storm sewer pipe replacement projects, specific ones that are currently underway, or the one that's underway rather, is the Broad Street pipe relay. And it's under a railroad. So Corey has been working diligently on that one. Any questions with any of this? Moving on, still the same section. The supplies and materials that we need under this annually would be pavement saws, stone, again, bedding stone to be able to set that pipe in. Adjustment rings, those are to adjust structures. Any pipes and fittings as we do those repairs. Bedding stone, I have on there twice apparently. And this is where you see that other second, third of the concrete breaker under tools and equipment. I am going to, if Corey doesn't mind, hand back for the construction portion, and he can clarify the projects that we're looking at for next year under stormwater.
Thank you. What we're looking at is on Whitman Park Lane. We've discovered some difference in grade with some storm sewer out there. Incoming pipe is lower than outgoing pipe, so we have to relay some sewer, get things like that corrected. So we're looking to redo that. Part of Jefferson Park is stormwater treatment with the impervious areas and whatnot, the redevelopment or reconstruction of that area. Kenwood Drive, right now there is no storm sewer on the end of that drive or cul-de-sac, so we're looking to add that. We are looking that would be, a portion of that would be accessible. Right now, I know we did talk about it in the CIP. You know, we're still looking at those other options. We just have it listed this way right now. The Water Street, this would be the storm sewer pipe that we would be redoing in some of the treatment devices that we would be putting on the Water Street corridor. And then again, kind of a to be determined is the Conservation North.
Any questions with that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The Kenwood Drive issue in the Whitman area, we had talked about maybe there's like 2 or 3 options that we had there. Do we had we done any of those negotiations yet? We have not. Okay, then I guess I have no further questions. But I know there's obviously a cheaper option. We just need to work towards it.
I don't know if there's necessarily a cheaper option.
It'd be less expensive. I I'm not saying cheaper, I'm just saying, because of the route that it would take. We needed an easement or something.
Yes, we would need an easement for any of the other options to go that route, you know. So if the owners aren't willing to give the easement, you know, then this is our route that we have to take right
Okay,
now.
yep. Just wanted to know where we were with that, because it wasn't that long ago we talked about it.
We just have not reached out to anyone.
Okay.
We still have to have those conversations. Any other questions? Pages 141 and 142 would be our parking lots, and that fund covers labor and equipment for routine maintenance of storm drains and curb and gutter and city-owned parking lots. There are no significant changes within that fund. And lastly, in the stormwater fund would be yard wastes. This is split 44% in the recycling fund and 56% under the stormwater here. So basically, those overall costs are split, 44%, 56%, 56% is attributed to this account. And it strictly covers labor and equipment for collection and maintenance of our yard waste. Any questions?
So
with that?
parking lots, help me and maybe just tell me, oh, that's later down the road or whatever, but where are we with the parking lot behind us here at City Hall?
We have that in our 5-year CIP, I believe 25.
Okay.
It might be in, but it is in the 5-year plan.
All right, so it's not for 2024.
No, no. And we're going to look at,
Driving on stones.
yeah. Well, and it's been held off because of the development going on down here, and do we need more space? Do we need to look at a different option? So we're getting to the point we might just need to do a mill and overlay or some sort of surfacing on it to get it by until maybe some other things change down here. But
Regular maintenance?
Yes, we do the same as our streets. We'll do our patchwork or potholes or stuff like that on the parking lots.
Question for Corey, please. Oops, sorry. Corey, what's the status of Buckland's? I know this might be a little bit off task, but it's still recycling yard waste. We're still continuing to contract with Buckland's. I know my neighbor complained
That's
that they
literally
were,
what I,
Thad will speak to that.
that they were complaining about that Buckland's is done for the weekend. They work during the week, and they said, well, last weekend was the last weekend Buckland's is open. I said, I don't know. So, just wondering if we're continuing with that contract, and I know they can always take it to the city garage, but what's the status?
Yes, we are still continuing with going with Buckland's for our brush and yard waste drop-off site. They have their hours posted yearly to us. We put it in the calendar at the beginning of the year, and it's sent out so they know what days they're there and what days they're not. So this isn't something they're just making up hours as they're going, or they just don't want to work anymore. They have these set, that those are their working hours
We
from the
already have
beginning of the year.
we have all the dates already for next year.
So I guess I didn't really look in the calendar to help my neighbor, but, so Buckland's is closed on the weekends as of now?
They have their winter hours,
Yeah,
whatever
I
those
don't
may
remember
be,
that
but
off the
they're
top
on
of
our
my head.
website. They're in our calendar, and we'll do the same for next year. It's all in our calendar, and it's all on our website.
And Randy, you did mention they could bring it to the city garage. The yard waste and brush does not come to the city garage
okay.
anymore. That's only Buckland's. Our recycling center, you can bring recycling,
Right.
plastic and
Okay.
cardboard, stuff like that.
Sure, got it, thank you.
so going off of that, we used to bring it to the city garage. How can we go with Buckland's now?
So the mobilization costs that we had, the rental of their equipment that we had, us then having to transport back and forth for, after it's ground, for our equipment, not just the mobilization for their equipment coming in.
Right.
We would fuel the machine, we would do everything, and off the top of my head, I believe it was somewhere around $16,000 savings, something like that.
To go
16 to
through
26
Buckland's
to bring it
instead?
there. It's
Oh,
the
okay.
staff time, the vehicle usage, the gas, the rental of the equipment. So basically, in taking everything out, we're paying for the rental of the equipment, their grinder, to do
Right.
this service for us.
Okay,
Is basically what we're
I
playing.
thought we stopped doing it because we redid the city garage, and then it was just a matter
I
of,
think that was the driver,
okay.
but it truly came down to monetary savings.
No, and that's,
And then also, just from a staffing of monitoring it kind of standpoint, we get people that dump stuff in the recycling yard as is that isn't supposed to be there.
Right.
And with the yard waste, we were getting people from outside the city, not residents, that were coming and using this. Commercial businesses dumping after they would clean up for the year. So having Bucklands be able to monitor that for us is huge, and it helps kind of stave some of that off as well.
cool, thank you.
Some people benefit more from the
We
location.
did also lose our yard attendant too then, so that saved us money too there, so.
It lost, well, my presentation has, I'll have this corrected for when it is posted, but all of the percentages here appear to be not reflected. But the blue on the top right is street construction, just to highlight some of the larger ones. So the bigger portions of our, so we're in the general fund, by the way, pages 255 to 291, as long as we're done with stormwater. Refuse collection and disposal is the dark blue on the top left. And then snow and ice removal is the greenish on the bottom right. So just to kind of point out some of the bigger pieces of the general fund and what they go towards. It would be the refuse collection. How many blues and greens can we think of? So just to show you here, the sanitation account did go up slightly, and those are attributed to those global cost increases, yet again, that I will reiterate. Streets division, it's a combination of those global increases, plus bringing some of those borrowed projects back into the general fund. So it's basically what makes up this increase of what you're seeing here, just shy of 17%. So it is attributed to projects and the global cost increases predominantly. So to jump in right away on that note, the crack sealing and milling and overlaying, we had $78,000 annually. We do this every year, prolongs the life of our roads. And last year it was moved into borrowing, and this year we are moving it back into the general fund. That was Randy's question earlier. So we did move it back into the general fund. That's a $78,000 increase. The other increase that you're seeing, and I'm going to jump right to the bottom, significant would be $100,000 for Name It Street. So that, again, all the streets projects were borrowed. That $100,000 is being moved back into the general fund as it had been in the past. So right there makes up, I think it's 11% of that 16% increase strictly in those two additions. So we also did increase, jumping back up to section 2010. That would be kind of outlaying or laying out the crack seal, and then also reiterating that mastic use that we were talking about on Garfield. We are adding a little bit more to that to be able to capture more. Asphalt patching, as was stated earlier, our lead service repairs are now all complete, so we actually reduced that fund. We had $20,000 to do the Menasha Utilities lead lateral replacement patches. So now we've trimmed that down. We've left a little bit of dollars in there to be able to capture any oddities that may creep up. If we see any as they've been getting tested, we can still do a couple of them if they come up. Our intent for concrete patching, out of this account, we did the Taco Main intersection this year, and we intend to do 9th Street east of Racine, which was the plan for this year, but due to the condition of Taco, we kind of shifted gears. So, and then here is that last third of the cost for that concrete breaker. We also included in here, so we pay for it out of this account, but we haven't allocated the funding for whatever reason for the annual bridge inspection. So this is not anything new per se, but we've been paying for it. It's just it hasn't, for whatever reason, been captured. So we are capturing it in here, and then there are every 5-year structural inspections required of our bridges. Concrete recycling, this includes crusher rental. We've been crushing every other year or so now as of late. Saves us a little bit of money on that rental. So we have been doing that every other year, and I already spoke to the road construction. Any questions on this slide before I move on? I am going to, Thad, if you don't mind, take over for snow and ice removal under the general fund, pages 267 to 269.
For snow and ice removal services, we're looking at a couple little increases here for the equipment, the plow blades and brooms. The main ones are the plow blades, the metal. Those have really jumped up in price. We're keeping those costs down by using carbides. So not just using the plow blades, we're putting carbides on and we're trying different ones, different ways, and we're actually saving a lot of money on the blades right now. Travis is doing a great job coming up with different ideas and how to implement that. So on the materials, we have the salt increase. That was the 76.81 to 83.72 per ton.
Any questions? Okay, next section, street signs and markings, pages 270 to 273. This fund, I believe, did not go down. We went up slightly in this one. So this was attributed to mostly the global costs, and it did increase slightly because of material costs. The paint, glass, beads, items that we need, that I don't know if you want to jump into any more detail on that.
It's basically our painting and some of the vinyl that we use on our signs have increased
Material costs.
drastically. The material is.
We did purchase in 2023, so it did go down from this regard. We did purchase a new plotter for the sign shop in our 2023 budget. So now we have that, and that has created a lot more efficiency in getting these printed and moving along. So that has been a great addition to that department. Also under this account, we mark the city lines on city streets and install and maintain the traffic signals and lighted pedestrian crossings. Any questions with this? All right, sidewalks and crosswalks, pages 274 to 276. Out of this, we cover replacement of failing or non-ADA compliant sidewalks and crosswalks. And it says a third of the concrete breaker purchase, so I'm gonna have to review that to make sure that that's accurate. And then we do install new sidewalks as needed. I had it in stormwater twice, that's where it was, thank you. Any questions with sidewalks and crosswalks? Street lighting, pages 277 to 279. This account covers labor and equipment for maintenance and replacement of all of our street lights within the right-of-way, electricity costs for those lights, and the upcoming project that we are currently working on is, as you know, we received the carbon reduction grant, an 80-20 cost share with the DOT. To obtain the materials, we do need to go out for bid. We were going to try and order it under state contract, but with our decoratives, we do have to go out for bid on our own. So we are working on that, and these will be completed by the end of '24. Any questions on that section? Parking lots, pages 280 to 282. This account funds labor and equipment for maintenance of our city-owned parking lots, supplies and printing for monthly parking permits, and the sealing and inspections at the Marina Place parking ramp that we do. Last year, or this year I should say, 23, I keep saying last year, it's that switch time with the budget. We did replace the service doors there this year. Anything to add to that?
With those service door replacements, we're also going to be installing handles and using our security keys on there. So the Marina Place apartment will be getting 40 security keys and then a couple more garage door openers here tomorrow, actually. They'll come pick them up.
Any questions? Last slide in the general fund is the sanitation division. Thad, are you speaking to this one?
Again. Let me read what's on here.
I don't think there were any noteworthy changes. The account did not adjust significantly here. But this does fund labor and equipment for collection and disposal of our refuse. And again, reiterating the global increases that we are seeing. And if you want to jump in on the tipping fee.
Yeah, the tipping fee's the same as our, the last one was the $49 from last year, or this year, to the $53 for next year.
So pretty self-explanatory increases there. And then weed cutting, we do provide labor and equipment for grass cutting and weed control on our public property. And then when there are non-compliant properties that we have to go cut, that is covered here, we do charge out for that service. And that is one thing we do want to look at, fees at some point for charging those properties.
We're going to see a pretty big savings on this too, with Sam doing such a great job selling all those lots out by Lake Park. That really cut down our man hours going out there to do that, so kudos to Sam.
Any other questions in the general fund and sanitation division?
Yes, I do have a question, because I know somebody did ask in my neighborhood. Have we increased at all any more of the recycling dates? We're still at 18 or 19 out of our
The
calendar.
next slide is recycling.
What? Oh, I'm ahead, okay. I'll wait and
We
hold
should
that
have you
question.
present for us next time.
Okay.
So the last slide here would be the special revenue funds, which is recycling, and that is pages 96 to 102. So just kind of showing you here the splits, that it's solid waste, yard waste, and appliances. And in this fund includes labor and equipment for collection and hauling of single-stream recyclable materials. And the main increases that we're seeing here are the global costs yet again. One thing to note with our revenues side is while our grant amount is staying the same, commodity prices have been decreasing. There's just not the market and we're not getting the price, but we are still getting money. So I don't want that to deter people from recycling, because it is very important to keep recycling, because those commodity prices ebb and flow every year. So we don't know what they're going to be until towards the end of the year as the year progresses. So it is very important to still continue to recycle. And then if you wanted to ask.
Got into this little discussion when I was out for a walk, so I just said I would check on it, and the gentleman brought up the 52 weeks a year. I said, yep, we have 52 weeks. And I said there's, depending on how we're counting pickups A and B, I said that one has like 18, one has 19. I said that comes to like 37. 37 weeks we're working, picking up recycling. I'll just use my Fridays because that's my day of the week. And I said, okay, 37. He said, well, there's 15 days, 15 other Fridays. I said, yes, there are. But I said, there happens to be 8 holiday weeks. So he said, okay, that's 45. So that leaves 7 more weeks. Isn't there a chance that we could pick up 7 more weeks, like 3 on A and 4 on B, or vice versa? I said I would at least present that to them. I said, I'm sure there's an additional cost, maybe truck, man hours, those type of things. And I said, you know, most people don't need the recycling every other week. But with all the Amazon boxes, he said, I need it. I said, you have alternatives as far as purchasing another brown bucket, recycling bucket. He said they're very inexpensive. I think, what are they, 50, 60 bucks to purchase one Thad? I think there's something like that.
They're $56.
56. So I said, you could do that. He said, yes, but then I got to store it. He said they're a pain to put in his garage. I said, you could put it on the side of the garage, all of those other options. And so I'm presenting it to you.
You take it down to the public.
You could take it down.
We're
Yep.
kind of the same spot we were the last couple times that this was brought up. We would need another guy, first of all, to do it, and we would need an extra truck to do that. So you're looking at your $380,000, $400,000 for a truck, and then another employee to be able to do that route.
That was my answer to him.
So we do have 19 collections for A or B. It switches every other year because we added that week during the holidays to do that. We have weeks for the double picks where we're not doing recycling on that. Those are the days, and the days that we're not recycling out there, we're actually maintaining those vehicles. So if a vehicle's on the road the whole time, we don't have time to maintain it. And adding an extra truck would get us close, but now we're still going to have one truck for 7 trucks now to try to shuttle through to maintain these vehicles. So operationally, it gets a little bit of a constraint there to try to be able to fumble all that around to be able to keep the trucks running. If one breaks down, now you have that one that's in the maintenance shop, now you got 2 down. So it can become a nightmare.
Sure.
Especially with having our vehicles as long as we do have breakdowns.
Right. And so what is that, the gentleman who's driving the recycle garbage truck, what does he do on the weeks where it's shut down? He's some other type of,
So we have, it's 3 guys that would run the route. Normally it's 4 guys on the route. Recycling weeks, we have 5.
Okay.
When we don't have recycling going out, that guy is actually put back onto the street crew or doing other projects that is needed throughout the city to catch us up while we don't have recycling weeks also.
well spoken, thank you. I just wanted to present that. I only put mine out once a month anyway, so I'm not an issue with that, so.
But like we said, we do have the recycling center, the cardboard boxes for Amazon. They're not messy. There's no garbage in it. Fold them up, throw them in the back of the car, the truck, whatever, bring them down to the city garage. It's open from 6 a.m. to 8 at night, and then the gate will automatically close. If you do get stuck in there, pull up to the gate will open.
Okay.
We did have some people call the police to get them out of there, and so,
Just gotta get
just so
close.
everybody knows.
Understood.
There is a
Thank-
sign on the back of the gate too to pull forward, the gate will open, so.
All right, thank you very much.
Did one of you want to share what the cost per ton is for recycling versus trash? And share with everyone how much cheaper it is if you recycle? You have no-
So the cost per ton that we pay for our recycling is $5 a ton. And our,
53 for refuse next year.
So
yeah,
there's
the refuse is $53 a ton.
significant savings if you recycle versus put in the trash can for the city.
And thank you, Alderman Rapella, for asking that, because these are questions we do get frequently, and it's good to be able to reiterate to the public as to the whys. So,
You're welcome. Great answer.
save your calendars. They're going to be coming out soon.
A lot of important
Save 'em.
information on there. And your stickers are in there too.
Or go online. You can go online, you can click, you can type in your address, and then it tells you when your weeks are. Everything's also online if you lose your calendar. With that, thank you very much. Any other lingering questions? If you have anything that comes up before budget adoption, please let us know.
I said one word.
We'll get them involved next year.
He's the behind-the-scenes worker. Yeah.
We didn't want to take Corey's away from them and have Travis speak on some of them, so we wanted Corey to have more.
He does answer when I call it, so I give him great credit.
So we'll move forward to the Park and Rec budgets. Chloe and Megan are here as well. Maybe we can get Travis to talk this time. I brought you a mic.
All right, thank you for your patience as we get adjusted here and moved over to the Park and Rec Department. So we're going to give some highlights here tonight. I'll start first with really giving an overview of our department and focusing on some of the numbers before I turn it over to Chloe and Thad and Travis to kind of get into some of the details of what we did in 2023 and look ahead to 2024. So I really want to paint a picture first with some of the data. Chloe and I have been with the department since 2019, and one of our focuses was collecting more data so that we can present numbers to you of what we're achieving, of different data points and how we're excelling, how we're increasing revenues or expanding our offerings or renting more things. So you'll see some of this 5-year snapshot now that we have 5 years underneath the belt. You'll see some of these data, and we look to collect more different types of data as we try and look for ways to improve. So the first one is really just a look at our department by the numbers. So on the left-hand side, that's the area of what our department oversees really on the green space side of things. So we have 14 parks covering roughly 235 acres, including the Heckrot Wetland Reserve. Our facilities include the 4 different boat landings, the different kayak launches, marina, municipal beach, a pool, the memorial building, the 9 rentable shelters. And what's not included in here that our department also oversees is the different facilities from maintenance side. So we help with the maintenance at the library, at the police station, any of the city-owned facilities, our department oversees that as well. On the right-hand side of this slide, you'll see a comparison from 2009 to 2023. So it really shows you how much our community has grown. So you can see the population has shifted only about 1,000 people. Our trails nearly quadrupled, not quite quadrupled, in miles, and will continue to grow in the next couple of years as we add trail space along the Water Street development. The Lawson Canal will have additional trail space. You'll have a little bit in Jefferson Park. Obviously, if we get the High Cliff connection moving, that will be added trail, so that can significantly increase in the coming years should those projects continue to move forward. Also, since 2009, you added 1 park, Hidden Pond Park, so it increased the acreage of the parks, but you can see the big addition is the number of trees. We continue to grow our forestry program. We have an arborist that started in 2014, and a new one that started this year, and we continue to grow and expand that program there. So you can see a significant increase in the number of trees. On the flip side of that, though, you do see a decrease in the number of park staff that we have to maintain all of that. So our staff does a tremendous job, and we found efficiencies, but we are continuing to grow. And like I mentioned, we do have significant projects on the horizon, that will add to that maintenance need as we continue to grow here. Looking at our different facilities and our usage of our facilities. So on the bottom, you'll see 4 different graphs looking at the athletic fields. So that includes our softball diamonds, baseball diamonds, soccer fields, any of that. So again, it goes from 2019 on the right to 2023 on the left. So we've seen some growth in our use of that. This year we took a little bit of a dip. We had 1 less youth group using one of our softball diamonds, and I think a little bit of soccer. So it fluctuates depending on the youth programs in the area. I would expect as we see the new diamond come at Jefferson Park, and we might look to utilize that in different ways. We've talked about at the council level about maybe adding internally within our department, a flag football program or something of that nature. So I'd expect our athletic fields to see an increase, and naturally, as you provide better quality athletic fields, you're going to see increase in that as well. Pavilions and shelters, a significant increase since 2019, almost 90 additional rentals. So we're excited to see that much growth. That definitely means more maintenance, more cleanings of bathrooms, more things like that happening. But we're happy to have those people come to our community and have them see what Menasha all has to provide. Again, I expect that to grow with the new addition of a new pavilion at Jefferson Park and the updates to the current pavilion, that we're going to see that expand. It's going to be exciting to come to those facilities and rent those facilities. We'll continue to see those grow. Obviously, 2020, you can always look at those numbers. Those are going to take a dip and kind of skew all of the data, so you can take those numbers up. Smith Park Gardens ebbs and flows a little bit. We roughly stay around 18 to 20. We are looking to do some additional marketing in the coming year. I think it's a great spot. Some people use it for weddings, some people use it for, we've had just some small gatherings there, memorial service, things like that there. So it's not all just weddings. And then on this slide, I also added community events because our department is heavily involved. So when I say community events, it's not the events that our department puts on. I'm talking about the Bassmaster Fishing Tournament. I'm talking about Twisted Pistons downtown, all of those, because our manpower goes into those and our department is heavily involved in those. So you see that we're involved about a dozen of those a year, and that changes. You know, this year, like I said, we had the new one, the Bassmaster Fishing Tournament, and I do expect that one to return. We've had United Way now come to the park and have their large festival. We've attracted Volunteer Fox Cities. So we have some that, you know, come one year and then maybe they rotate around the Fox Cities, but we've also had some that come and really like our facilities and stay. So again, it's a great way to showcase the community. Having those outside entities like United Way, Volunteer Fox Cities choose our park or our park system is huge to having them come because they're bringing hundreds, if not thousands of people through Menasha and through our park system. This slide, I wanted to showcase the revenues in which we bring in through our department. So you can see that top line has our park rentals. So park rentals is all of our shelter rentals, pavilion rentals, things like that. So that has stayed steady at roughly 18,000 with the exception of 2020. Again, I fully expect that to increase. And we also haven't adjusted prices in many years, since I've been here, and in many years beyond that. Once we have our new pavilions built, I will look to review those fees. I'm not saying I'm going to automatically increase them, but we'll look in comparison to the other communities around us and see where our amenities and the quality of services that we provide comparable to that. So you may look for an adjustment there. Recreation and pool, you can see that's where you've seen significant increase since 2019 and to 2023. Certainly with the addition of the recreation coordinator / recreation supervisor position that was added in 2019, you're naturally going to see some growth. We've really focused though, you know, when I was in that position to when Chloe is growing those areas, and you're seeing that through the revenue increase that has come through, as well as the focus on the pool. We're excited to see the growth. We've looked at different opportunities to bring people to our pool because it's not, you know, there's many opportunities in the Fox Cities of different aquatic facilities, and ours is a standard size pool. So what brings them to our facility? And it's different programming from sensory swim, allowing groups to come in during non-open swim times when they can have quiet time if they have special needs, you know, offering those different things. We have a splish splash story time for preschool times. So this category includes all of those drop-in programs as well as our season passes, our daily passes, and swim lessons. You'll see a slide here in a few slides that will quantify some of the numbers and clarify how we're seeing an increase in the number of swim lesson users as well as the number of patrons that are using our pool as well. So we're excited to see that increase. Concessions at the pool has also gone up. Some of that is due to the increase of price of product, so you're going to see naturally that dollar amount go up, but some of it is we've changed some of the product and listened to the customers of what they're looking for at the pool. It's been just typical snacks in the past, ice cream, candy bars. We've looked for some things of more substance. We're limited also, it's not a commercial kitchen, so we can't cook within there, but we can, you know, microwave a soft pretzel, nachos, things like that. So we've offered something of more substance because we realize some of our patrons, the young kids that do come in the afternoon, that are there all afternoon, they need something more than an ice cream or a candy bar or a bag of chips. Or Airheads. Yeah, that is the snack of choice there for sure. So, you know, I don't have a number of exactly how many product we exactly sell, but we definitely sell more, and we look to expand and change those offerings to meet those needs again. Boat launches, so you see kind of that ebb and flow a little bit. So this is season and daily passes. So whether they come up to our office and buy that season pass or they're paying the $6 daily fee, we roughly bring in about $27,000 annually for our boat launches. The boat slip rental is a whopping $343 in 2023. So this is just the slips at Jefferson Park in that little canal next to the boat launch. So our total revenues, you can see from 2019 was just over 150,000 to now we're just about to hit 200,000. So quite a significant increase in just those 5 years. Any questions on the revenues? In addition to the revenues, or things that I would say that offset our revenues and provide additional value, is our volunteers and our sponsorship. So one effort that we've made over the last couple years is attracting more volunteers. One, to help us offset some of our costs and not have to pay staff as much, but also to engage the community. The more that we can bring in volunteers, the more sponsors that we have for our programs, the more the community is engaged. You're naturally going to get more participants in the programs, more people visiting our parks when we engage them. So putting a dollar value to our volunteers, I used a base value of $12 an hour, just saying that's kind of a base cost for like a recreation staff. So in 2021, we started to track this. We had 84 volunteers at roughly 245 hours, so just under $3,000 in value, you would say that is. Now in 2023, just over 100 volunteers at 740 hours and just under $9,000 in value that is. You add that to the $3,000 or so in sponsorship, that's an additional $12,000 of value that we've achieved through other ways of adding value to our programs, adding resources, adding other things, and it's not costing the taxpayers anything by that. And like I said, and it engages the community. We did put a snapshot there on the bottom of the screen of all of the different sponsors that we've had for our programs this year. This does not include like all of the hometown Halloween businesses, because that wasn't a direct sponsor, but they're giving back. So those are other ones too that are not recognized on here that are providing great value to our programs and our events. But so I wanted to recognize this because this is another means in which we're bringing people to our parks, bringing people to our programs, and adding value and engaging those people. Now looking at the some of the numbers related to our recreation programs. Did Austin have one? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank you for highlighting the importance of volunteer hours. In my previous role, we were figuring there's numbers out there that say volunteer hours are valued at $33 an hour, so using the 12. There's a lot of variation, so I just wanted to thank you for that because volunteer hours contribute substantially to the community and Park and Rec. So that was all I had to say on that matter.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a high value to us, and it's something that you'll see when Chloe talks a little bit, something we want to continue to expand because we know there's more opportunity out there as we want to continue to grow within our department. We know we have limitations of staff and what we can manage, so how do we continue to grow, to offer value, and maybe offer services that we couldn't otherwise by looking for alternative opportunities. So looking at the recreation programs and the number of people and the number of programs that we offered, again, from 2019 at roughly 197 programs to now in 2023 of 419 programs. So roughly a little over 200 programs added. Some of that is us, I would put an asterisk by this, to so to speak, is since COVID, we've adjusted how we offer some of our programs. For example, previous, it was a 14-week gymnastics program. Since COVID, we've rearranged that and now we do 4-week programs. So what would have been counted as 1 week, one program before is really like 3 programs now. So yes, we've definitely added programs overall. You know, gymnastics, instead of, like I said, 1 program, it's now 3 programs because we just schedule them differently. It fits the community better. So there's value to that as well, is listening to the community and taking what we've learned through these changes of COVID and other times and saying, hey, this works better. It works better for our community to have shorter programs, longer commitment, and we're gonna see a higher value in return. We're gonna have more participation, which you can see in the graph on the right. Our participation has increased dramatically because we've made these adjustments, we've added these programs, and we've adjusted to what the community needs. So again, we've gone from 1,179 people in 2019 to 282. So, you know, quite a significant increase. Just from 2022, we increased 11% in participants. So we continue to grow. One is our, there again is a lot of competition out there. You know, Fox Crossing, Nina is not that far a drive away, and they have programs that have been around longer and have different offerings. That's something that we try not duplicate what nearby Park and Rec departments are doing. But we also know that we have to have the quality behind that. So getting that word out there of not just adding programs, it's not all about the numbers, it's about the quality that you're putting out there as well. And that's something that we've worked on building since 2019, is not, we've definitely grown, but we've also taken a step back and made sure we're doing the things behind the scenes properly. We're training our staff properly. We're preparing them for those situations. They go through a myriad of trainings that Chloe can talk a little bit about. Some things not at all relatable to program delivery. It's about things in response to program participant needs, behavior needs that they're going to experience without, offering these programs. Unfortunately, they get training in if there was a gunman in the park during a program. We do specific training like that with them because it's a reality of what they might face. And so making sure that our staff prepared and we're offering those quality things out there helps us then to offer better things and see more in return for that.
One question, I know you mentioned staff a couple times, and I know you said we have 6 staff members. Does that including you 4?
6 staff members as total for full-time.
Yes.
For full-time,
Yeah.
you have us 4 plus an admin assistant is the only full-time. And Chloe's not 100% rec.
Oh.
She's split between
So
senior
where did you
center.
get those 6 numbers, or those 6?
What did I say,
The
6?
sixes that he was talking about is the park staff.
Park
So our
staff.
full-time part.
Yeah, park staff there's 6 full-time park staff.
Okay.
So that would be different from, I guess,
Okay,
up
so
here.
is that counting Thad and Travis?
Not in the 6 park staff. You have 1 park lead, you have 1 arborist, 2 and 4 park technicians, I would say.
Understood. Thank you. I was just curious how those numbers came up.
Sure.
Thank you.
The next slide is talking about our special events. So when talking about rec programs, those are very separate from special events. Again, on the left-hand side is the number of offerings, so a single event. So from 2019, you had 16 and we've grown to 27. The difference between 2022, why you see a decrease in 2023, we put money in the budget back in 2021, I think it might have been, for Hart Park and to do some programming there to deter some of the negative behavior. So in 2022, the way we structured that program was event-based, and so those got counted in here. In 2023, we went to a more drop-in program, so that's why you're seeing the difference in calculation. It's not that we aren't doing anything at Hart Park, it's just the way we're categorizing it. So offering 11 more different events, and that is, the 4 different beer gardens that we have a year, Hometown Halloween, which our department did not oversee initially, that was a farmer's market event. Gather Round has been added. There's a golf event in the spring, or winter, excuse me. So we've added a lot, and that also leads to the different needs and demands that it places on staff when adding those. When we add events and we add participants and we add rec programs, you're also adding needs of what we request that we're adding for park staff and what they may need to do to help us set up for each one of those events. The organization that it comes when it comes to each one of these special events, the solicitation of volunteers, the solicitation of sponsors, those all add up to additional time to put together a quality event. But we are happy with the way the community, I would say, kind of wraps their arms and participates and supports these events. You can see with the participation increase that we have seen over the years. 2023 is obviously not concluded, so we expect it to surpass because we still have 2 events. We have Gather Round and we have Holiday Hayride, so I would expect those participation numbers to surpass 2022. This is a slide that we haven't included, or numbers that we haven't included, but Chloe and I wanted to just kind of relay instructional hours. So this is face-to-face time and how much time that we're spending and making a difference and connecting with the community. So on the left, you'll see the, as far as program offerings, so those rec program hours. In 2020, it was just over 1,100 hours in which we're connecting with the community or face-to-face. And in 2023, just under 2,000. So that's important, again, when providing that quality of life opportunity of those hours that we're connecting with those community members. And then on the right is the event offering. So when talking about special events, those are the hours that we put into our special events and those connections that we make there. And then shying away from and moving away from the recreation into the pool. On the left-hand side, you'll see the daily attendance. I'm happy to say that we've returned to pre-COVID numbers and we've really grown again. Like I talked about previously, this includes not only open swim, but some of those enhanced programs that we've started to offer to attract people to the pool again. So we look to see an increase, hopefully continue, a significant increase that we had from 2022. A 23% increase is quite a big jump to see there. and swimming lessons. We're seeing a steady increase there. Chloe has put a great emphasis on making sure we're providing a quality product there and that our staff is well-trained, there's thorough curriculum, and she'll talk on that a little bit as well, but that is all showing through the numbers as well.
Megan, I remember looking at your latest rec bulletin, and I did notice that a large number, and you probably have the number in front of you, of people who go to the morning aerobics or the morning
swim.
Morning swim is a really big number for your pool.
Correct. Yeah, you're right. I don't have that exact data point with me right now, but it is. There's a strong, and I'd say of the valley, we probably have one of the strongest open swim or lap swim in the valley. It is a very core, tight-knit group. They look not only for the social aspect of it, which is very important, but also just the exercise. We've also enhanced that. We have, former Alderman Ann Schmidt offers a water aerobics class certain days of the week there, so, offers that experience and that different opportunity. But yeah, our lap swim is huge when it comes to that, and they've been coming here for decades, honestly. A lot of them have been coming to our pool for decades, and their morning lap swim is part of their daily routine. And then before I hand it off to Chloe, I always like to segue and remind everyone of our mission of our department is to offer quality youth and adult recreation opportunities and provide desirable parks, open space, and trails which contribute to a healthy community. This is when we're making decisions about our programming, changes that we want to make in our green space. This is what we come back to and make sure that we focus on that it's achieving part of our mission. So now I'll hand it off to Chloe to talk more about the rec side of things.
Thank you. I was waiting on the red. We certainly live out our mission daily. We like to set ourselves goals each year to provide some dedicated focus, and we'll share our plans for 2024 later, but we'll celebrate our 2023 achievements now. It was our hope that with our first goal that we'd be able to offer 2 opportunities for each age group, which we categorized as preschool, school age, and adult. And we've very much enjoyed our STEM for Tots, where we provide a series of experiments and manipulatives for littles to explore with their caregivers around themes such as flight. Next week we have light, colors, magnets are ones that we've done in the past. And our date night series, which we partner with the Menasha Library on, is off to a great start, where we had 11 teams join us for a night of hot trivia, taken after the game show with the hot wings and trivia. Brian chose some very, very difficult questions. I don't think I would have gotten all but 2 right, but it was a wonderful, wonderful time for the people who enjoy spicy food. Our second goal was bringing new energy to our historic Otto Grunski. This year it took place on a beautiful day on September 30th, and we had nearly 300 runners and walkers join us in downtown Menasha to travel a course that highlighted our neighborhoods, trails, and downtown. Our third goal was to pivot our outreach efforts at Hart Park with a new approach this year that allowed middle schoolers to feel the ownership of the space, and that began with our instructor getting to know the kids and their interests, and then drive them to develop the design of the space. Any questions on our recreational highlights?
Before Chloe advances, two things that I just want to add to that. The second goal about enhancing the Grunski, you're aware that that's been around for over 40 years. The last couple previous years, we had less than 100 participants. So for us to triple that this year speaks to the changes and looking and listening and saying, bringing in the downtown businesses, again, that fed to the value of volunteers and bringing in those businesses, and then enhancing that run and running through the community and not always taking the easiest route, but what can we do to showcase our community? And we saw the return on that immediately and we've gotten great feedback on that. Val was a participant, Maggie was a participant, so we appreciate that. And then before, also I wanted to highlight Hart Park and that adjustment that we've made. I talked about in 2022, we did more drop-in program. This year we had Chad, who used to be our previous pool manager. He's the one who created this kind of drop-in middle school, early high school program. And it really did help deter some of that negative activity. I'll say, without even looking at the hard numbers, I can say, he left in mid-August, late August to go back to his full-time education position, that the negative activity, unfortunately has returned pretty quickly there. So it does make a difference when we go into the park and we interact with the kids and we bring these programs. So it's important for us to continue to engage, and I've continued to talk with PD of other programs that we can continue to do there to try and drive out some of that negative behavior that's happening there. So we have seen success. We also are utilizing that park eviction program that was put into place probably a decade ago, where, if they unfortunately, hit so many, depending on what they may do, whether it be drugs or weapons or fighting, things like that, we can offer a park eviction that lasts up to a year. And I think we've evicted 7 or 8 kids already this year. And that means not only are they removed from Hart Park, but our whole park system. So we look for different. We certainly don't want to take that negative approach all of the time, and that's why this Hart Park program and investing in that type of programming is so important.
So our special events is an area where we have the allowance to really let our creativity expand, and our special event goals for 2023 were reached in the following way. First, we talked about volunteers at length, but we saw a 54% increase in hours from last year. Secondly, we celebrated the beauty that Smith Park Gardens offer our community with 2 events. The first was Magic in the Garden, which saw children creating their own fairy garden and enjoying chatting with real-life fairies. And the second event we hosted was a jazz trio in September, and we partnered with Menasha's FCCLA club at the time to offer charcuterie picnic boxes. Thirdly, we wanted to have an effort kind of to move into the neighborhoods and communities where we don't necessarily have great representation or our name isn't well known. So we joined in on a couple community engagement events and are looking forward to doing more. As we look forward, we're really eager to see our engagement be kind of the departmental focus. We plan, again, to increase our number of volunteers by 20%, and as Megan discussed, there's great value in doing so, both from a financial responsibility, but also in the impact that it has on our community members. We also recognize that it's not quite enough to just offer the beautiful open spaces that we have designed thoughtfully, but we also need to be intentional in how we encourage its use. So we will have efforts seasonally to encourage both passive and leisure use in our system. And then finally, we are looking forward to 2024 with the 150th anniversary, and we're looking forward to joining in the celebration of that milestone. So moving forward, we're going to talk just briefly about the recreation budget and answer any questions. So the page numbers are 363 through 365. 2024 is a year of recognizing our staff. It makes note of a activity coordinator year-round, and Megan will be discussing that later. We're continuing our incremental increase in starting wages to ensure that we are competitive in both staff recruitment and retention. For recreation, we're proposing an increase to $12 for our recreational instructors. We were cognizant of this in our other line items to allow for that increase. We're also needing to increase our 2005 contracting line item to accommodate the increase in quotes for our contracted services to enhance our events. Any questions? Nope. Megan has a thought.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if anybody had any questions. Those were notable changes, and like I said, Chloe had indicated, I'll talk specifically a little bit later about that implementation of a year-round activity coordinator and provide some details on that.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm looking at your increases. Do you feel that's enough?
Recreation's a little bit hard. We attract actually better at the pool than we do recreation. So we want to be cognizant of that. We did well this year in attracting staff. Chloe and Kimberly from HR work hand in hand to look at different opportunities. You'll see a little bit more given on the lifeguards because of their responsibility level, that they are increasing a bit more. It will still be a challenge to attract. No doubt, we're being cognizant of the comparables in other communities, but we do have, flexibility too. So if we do have someone that we can attract with a little bit more experience, we might look to have them a different role and a different wage as well.
I would suggest that next year you increase it again.
We probably will. Yeah, the way the market is trending is that we'll see increases. Honestly, we've taken substantial leaps and bounds. I think when I first came on board, this program instructor probably was at $825, I believe.
I think I was hired at $920.
Yeah, so, so we've taken leaps and bounds. We know the market has grown substantially then too, but yes, you will continue to see increases there.
Thank you, Mayor. Question with that, the increase, is any of that due to not having full-time people in the temp help? But you were fully staffed at the pool and you were fully staffed from all of this, weren't you? Or are you hoping to get more people because of the wage increase?
We were fully staffed. Well, yes, you can say we're fully staffed. There's always an asterisk by that because as the summer flows through, they take more vacations or they realize 40 hours sounded good, but 40 hours is an awful lot to commit to in July. So things change. So we have a number in mind of the number of staff, but the more events that we have, the more programs, and sometimes the more participants. That's always driven by participants too. If we get a higher registration for a program, we may need more staff. For example, our day camp program. It all depends on that too. So yes, you could say we were fully staffed, but I'd say by the end of summer, we were scraping the barrel at times to make sure we had enough staff there because their situation just changes, their commitments change, and their interests change.
And we're certainly looking at this as a retention. We've lost a couple of our more senior staff to Appleton just because of the pay. And it was a hard decision for them because they really like the culture that we build among our staff and the relationships they have with across the board. It was a very hard decision for them, but they needed to do what was in their best interest. So if we could either even just maybe regain one or two or keep the shining stars that we have, great.
So Chloe mentioned culture a bit, so it is twofold. We obviously want to offer a competitive wage, but we want them to enjoy their job and offer them skill sets. A lot of the recreation staff that we're going to attract, a good handful probably want to maybe go into the education or some kind of childcare program, something like that. So what skills can we develop them? That's important too, is saying, what do you want to do with these skill sets? What are you trying to achieve besides the dollars? Because perhaps we can offer them opportunities that are going to further advance them in something or grow an opportunity or grow an interest for them. So yes, we want to be competitive in our wages because there is the reality that we might lose a couple to an Appleton. Appleton's always tough to compete against when it comes to wages. They're always going to be a nose above us. But what can we offer? It's offering a great work environment. It's offering their flexibility in their schedule, good culture, and what skill sets can they develop. So it's a much more comprehensive look at it.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just want to add to the discussion that I'm appreciative that you're increasing the wages for both program instructors and program lead. But it's unfortunate to hear we're losing folks to Appleton because the wages there are better. So I would encourage you in the years to come to look at increasing it more because we need to be competitive and pay people their worth. And I know you're doing the best that you can with the budget that we have, but I would just like to encourage that we keep moving in that direction.
Thanks for that recognition. It certainly is a balance as we look at our program fees too, knowing that, the world that we live in right now and the inflation that we're seeing in so many things throughout our life, that, certainly we could adjust our program fees and recruit more revenue that way to offset some of that, but we're trying to find that balance, that we don't want to push people away from our rec programs because now we've raised prices because we're trying to pay our staff. So we've really been cognizant. We'll probably make a few adjustments on some of our program fees, some of our more popular ones and maybe some more of our time-consuming ones, but we've really been stable at that so that we aren't deterring the community members and creating another burden for them. But it does certainly maybe hinder a little bit of where, could we shoot up to the $15 an hour if we did that? But that's not our goal either. We got to find that balance.
All right, so we are going to move on to recapping our fun-filled summer. We added 2 new programs for the younger kids in our community with a preschool playtime, which allowed littles and their families to enjoy a bit of a calmer environment in our zero-depth entry. And then we also started our sensory swim time for families who have children with sensory-specific needs. Secondly, as Megan mentioned, we had a major focus on our swimming lessons. We provided a written and scripted curriculum that expanded skill-based games and teaching tools. And we leveraged our recreational software to have private swim lesson sign-up take place online, which we definitely saw an increase in private swimming lessons, and that will be an effort that we're continuing to move forward with in 2024. And lastly, we worked hard to fully staff and train our staff. We ensured that our front end are all certified in first aid and CPR, so they have the tools to handle emergent situations that arise in the concession stands and the pool house that they are uniquely responsible for. We also did a full response drill with Menasha Police Department, Fire and Rescue, and Gold Cross, and we ran through 3 situations that were able to help adjust our procedure to better match the needs of the emergency response team. Our focus in 2024 will continue to be around our swimming lessons because we know the importance of it for our community, and as well as adjusting to the new aquatic code that was released this fall. So for page numbers, we are looking at 374 and 376. Our pool budget has a similar theme as recreation, with requests for our wages to see an increase to be as competitive as we can with the array of opportunities that are available for our staff. We're looking to increase our front end to $10.50 and lifeguards to $14.50, which you can see will hopefully help us stay in the midst of our surrounding areas. Our 30201 line will have an increase to accommodate the change in the state code, which I've alluded to, which requires lifeguards to be recertified every single year with first aid CPR classes, which means a certification cost that we will be covering for them. We are also looking to increase concessions to adjust for the increase in food costs and offer a few more select menu items that were sought out after this past summer's evaluation. And then lastly, the quote of our chemicals increase, so that is the 3018 line increase. Questions on this? I can speak a little bit about the front end, why we're only increasing by 50 cents. One, we're unique that we hire at 14 for that position. They tend to be fantastic workers, but we get a lot of them because a lot of opportunities for 14-year-olds they're limited. So we tend to be swimming in front end applications.
There you go. Anything else related to the pool or questions?
All right, so going,
So when you kind of work the numbers out with all the increases in the salaries or the hourly pay, and also the number of people who are visiting the pool, how does the pool break down as far as a profit, or I know we're not supposed to break even, but what are the numbers for something like that?
I don't have the hard numbers on me. The pool is not, when it comes to chemical supply costs, water, I mean, if you looked at the water line alone, you're spending over $50,000 in water. When I recapped, the revenue of the pool alone is, what I say, 60-some thousand, so you're not regaining a lot. This is a community service.
Right.
So it's never going to be. One thing that I can say that other communities have spoke to is that when they do invest in their pool and enhance their pool or build a new pool, specifically Herb Park has said that, they are closer to 100% cost recovery because they have invested in that pool, because now it is a destination. We, in fact, just a week or so ago, a few of us took a tour of some local pools to look at just how they operate and some of their behind the scenes. And one of the things that they said at Herb Pool is that a majority of their patrons come from over an hour away to that pool because it is a destination, because they have invested in there. We don't have that kind of data. A lot of ours are daily passes, so they're paying us cash. So I wouldn't be able to provide you that kind of data, but I can probably with almost certainty say that 50% of ours don't come from outside of Menasha. It is a lot of Menasha people. So yeah, our pool, should we invest in it in the future, I can see it having a higher cost recovery rate. Right now, we're trying to enhance the participation. I have, purposely not brought forth any sort of proposal to increase the daily admission fee, because I don't think that would suit well for the city. I think we'd lose more participation because what increased value are they getting if we're just increasing the admission at this point in time? We're trying to do other enhancements at the pool, other programming that will draw people in that maybe the other community. So you're right, Randy, I don't have a hard number as far as cost recovery, but it's not a very high number as far as cost recovery.
Actually, without the chemicals and all that stuff, I was just wondering if our revenues cover the salaries or the hourly wages for the workers.
Well, let me take a quick peek here. I might be able to.
I think it's like 101.
Yeah, I don't expect you to cover for the
Yeah, I mean, if you look at,
like that.
it's probably not far off, because if you're taking, what were we at, like close to 70,000 there,
Right.
plus another 20,000, granted you got some product in there for concessions, and it's about $100,000 for wages, I think is where we're at. So, yeah, 70 plus 20 is at 90, and then 100,000 in wages.
Sure.
So you're not too far off on that sort of thing.
Okay.
So we are getting closer and closer, and that's what is great, is that we're seeing more people come to our pool. So we are getting closer to maybe that break even of what you're kind of
Yeah, that
alluding
was
to
a number.
there.
I wasn't expecting water, chemicals, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
No.
unfortunately, we won't get there for a while.
Understood. Thank you. We haven't heard from Travis yet.
They're coming up next.
Okay.
Megan, you did touch a little bit based on your fees, what you charge people to come and use the pool. Have you looked at what the other municipalities are charging their people to come in? Are we in line, or we're a lot less because?
We're not far.
need to-
We are definitely on the lower end.
Okay.
Some have increased, a quarter, 50 cents or a buck within the last couple of years. But again, I don't think that would suit us well. We are, like I said, probably one of the lower. I haven't looked too closely because I didn't feel that was a point of emphasis, of need for us right now, because I feel like if we do an investment in the pool, that we'll see some return there, and then we have justification for that daily increase. So, yeah, I mean, ours is at, what are we at, 350?
325.
325. There's some, visiting Green Bay last week, they're at a flat $5.
$4.
Yeah, some are at $4, things like that. So we're not far off by any means on ours.
Last question on that. When the kids come over from that Camp Champs and they go swimming, they go free, correct?
Right, because they've paid for the rec program already, so you could say although I don't transfer any, technically that revenue goes into the rec side of our department, not the
Sure.
pool. But you're right, I'm not going to transfer over, say, a buck a kid or whatever it would be.
Got it.
No,
Okay.
yes.
Understood. Thank you.
All right, so going from our crafted recreational opportunities to the green spaces that are so incredibly important to the well-being of our community, Thad will get the chance, and hopefully Travis, to share a portion of the work that was done this year by their team.
Before we hand it off to them, I will kind of summarize where we've been and what we've done with Jefferson Park. So as you're all aware, earlier this year, we did adopt the final concept plan, and throughout this year, we've been working with design and engineering, and you will see kind of that final plan as we get closer to that. We did break ground in the last week or so for the playground space. So if you've been over towards Jefferson, you can see action happening. We actually took delivery on portions of the playground today that will be stored at Public Works till installation at springtime. We did secure that $750,000 donation that helps fund that playground, which we're excited about because that helped us create a larger playground that was than originally planned. So we were excited about that donation for us. And then we did obtain a $100,000 DNR recreational trail grant, which will go towards the enhancement and repaving of the trail system, which is a heavily used trail through Jefferson Park, as it's part of the regional network in the Fox Cities. And then our parks crew and this is probably where Travis could jump in, is on the shore wall project, Travi.
Yes,
I mean, really, this is the first we've heard this donation came through. So I'd like to know what is expected from that donation? Is there some naming, or is it just a donation, or what?
There will be recognition given at the playground. It hasn't fully been designed or determined what that's going to look like, but there will be recognition based on a significant donation like that.
Okay, well, I mean, here's the thing. You can't take a donation until this body accepts it. And I'm only hearing this now. So I'll just leave it at that at this point.
So we've had, I guess I don't want you to misunderstand. So the physical cash hasn't been handed to us yet, but we've had discussions and this entity has agreed to give us that donation, correct? It's not a grant, it's a donation though. I understand, we can talk about that, sure. Travis?
Okay. And finally, for Jefferson Park, we completed the shore wall from Peanut Island to the western edge of the park. So that was hanging out there for a while. As far as for, oh, did you have something else, Mike?
Nope.
As far as for park improvements, we did some shoreline restoration through a DNR grant at Bonta Point, along with a little bit of help from staff from HECROT. Racine Street berm, installed landscaping to screen the electrical transformers, reusing part of the Menasha Hotel. Curtis Reed, we repaired the pavers and stone retaining walls where the tree roots had pushed them up and blown them out. So improving safety there for all our events we have. Hart Park, we refurbished the far north ramp of the skate park, including replacement of the ramp deck and platform. There was installation of the shade structure by the skate park with donations through Murph Dog Skate Camp. And also at Hart, we installed a sidewalk to serve as an ADA connection from De Pere Street to the playground area to the shelter. Continuing on with park improvements at Smith, painted and rehabbed the front exterior of the MEM building. And for Smith Park planting, we had 12 volunteers and a record 3 hours. And we just met with, to go through the flowers just this past week.
Including Larry Buck, who's in the picture there.
Yes.
Our former, I don't know what his title was, forester.
Yeah. At Cosel, TK, Tom Konetsky, was inducted into the Cosel Hall of Fame. We also installed some drain tile by the playground to improve drainage there, and did work on the infield of the baseball diamond to improve drainage there as well. Shepherd Park, we did the sidewalk connecting the shelter, trail, basketball court, and restroom to that will create a great lawn space, and then preparing for the installation of the playground in spring of 2024. That's yours.
Anyone have any questions on park improvements? Anybody have any questions on the park improvements? The Racine Street berm was also designed in-house by our lead guy and our arborist, so kudos to them. We did have Don and Tom Grady assist in maneuvering some of the plants around, so. What's that? More Tom than me. Gotcha.
One question, is anything, do you have any future plans for the center and the roundabout there, that big hill?
There's some plans out there from way back. I haven't heard anything of what we were going to do yet, so that's something maybe Don could answer, where we're going with that.
Tom is going to bring a proposal to the council in the near future. He has some ideas what he'd like to see. So he'll bring that forward. If other people have ideas, they can bring those forward as well, but the council needs to approve whatever does go in there at some point.
Statue of Don? No.
Not a statue of me. No one would want to see that.
All right, thank you.
Related to trails, there's two major things that are occurring now or have occurred in 2023, the High Cliff Connection. So we were awarded a TAP grant, so a Transportation Alternative Program grant, to complete a feasibility study. Probably in December, you'll see that agreement come through on that. So it is an 80-20 split. So 80% is federally funded, 20% is local funds, and actually the Community Foundation, who has been a major partner in looking at the High Cliff Connection project, is funding that 20%. So none of it will come from the city itself. There's two feasibility studies happening simultaneously. The one that our city is focusing on is the connection along 114. The other connection that is being looked at is along, or proposed, I should say, is along Manitowoc Road. So this will happen over the next, several months, most of 2024, as those studies will be complete with the engineering firm that has been obtained for this, and then those results will be brought back forth to the communities. And then lastly, related to trails, we had the Born Learning Trail installed at Barker Farm Park. So Covantage, as a new community business, wanted to become engaged in the community, and they worked with United Way. So if you're not familiar with a Born Learning Trail, you'll see different markings painted, and then you'll see the sign that is located in the bottom picture there that explains kind of the activity. It might be an engagement activity, it might be an exploration activity, but it's engaging the kids throughout there. And those are bilingual signs, so they're both English and Spanish, recognizing the needs of our community there. We also have we have two other Born Learning Trails within the community, one at Smith that was just redone last year by Smith, Menasha Court, the Smith family, Menasha Court at Smith Park. And then we have one at Jefferson Park currently around the current playground.
All right, 2024 park budget. What's that? Page 367 to 371. Bingo. Here we're looking to increase our summer help staff from $14 to $15 an hour. And I believe Megan had some comparables on that also to be able to come up with that number. And I'll let you talk about this one.
Yeah, in the next slide, I'll talk further about the parks employee.
So Megan will be talking additionally on the park employee that's listed here. 2403 buildings account. We have a little more money going in there than normal, but we have the replacement of the garage doors at Smith Park and Coslow. These are the actual garage doors that we pull our mowers in, not service doors, the garage doors themselves. We're looking at paint and epoxy bathrooms at Barker Farms, and then the back storage garage there, and that would be more room for the rec department to store some of their activities and stuff for the park when they're there. And we have the front door and the west door of the MEM building to be replaced. That would be brought to Park Board and then to, or just Park Board? Once we get those in, we're trying to keep the same look of everything that's there. The front door would stay wood. The side door would be a new, still older look, but a metal frame on it, so it would have the historical look on it yet, but a metal frame, so it would be more economic for heating and stuff like that. Our 2405, our small projects, it's our trail sealing and crack filling on our trails, so the maintenance of our trails, that's been in there for a few years now. We did end up doing Barker Farm this year, that was on next year's, and then Jefferson Park was on there too. So we will be looking into what trails need it for next year, or it could be money that would be just put back into the budget if we don't have any. There's a couple out there that I know are getting a little bad, but we'll make a decision on that when the spring comes around. The repair of the pedestrian bridges at Smith, I've been looking into this for a year and a half now. I've had two of the main contractors, Radke and now Lunda. Radke didn't get back to me. Lunda, I just gave them a call back. I haven't heard anything from them yet, but this is getting harder and harder to find somebody to replace these. So I don't know what the next steps will be. We'll have to discuss that with the park board and figure out how we're going to do that, but we're doing everything we can to get people to give us a quote on it, to see how much it's actually going to be.
Bridge at Smith, not Smith Park. Yeah, Smith Park. That's not in the budget and anything, because you're not getting any quotes back or anything.
Right, we had it in the budget thinking we were
Right.
going to have money to put into the budget. We did not, so it's just
Okay.
there's nothing in there for that. We have renovation of the dugouts at Coslow. This is something that has been donated to years and years back. We're going to do a little bit of a different change. We're going to widen the dugouts a little bit, put a safety fence up, so people sitting in the dugout, foul balls, stuff like that will hit that fence before, that has padding on it. So I'm sure you guys have seen it in other areas that have them. The benches that we have are rusting out on the bottoms. They're failing. So we're looking at getting 3 two-tier bleachers. So it's the new thing for the, not new, but a newer thing for the baseball, where they can sit on the top of it. So we're looking at getting 3 of them, and this would be for the home and the visitors dugouts. Recondition of the Coslow Field. We were lucky enough to get a guy that started with us last
September.
and he has a lot of experience, and he did Oshkosh Titans Field, so he's got a lot of experience on doing this stuff, and the recommendation was to put more mix on top, which will also help drying of the field and the playability of the field, so it'll be safer for the people out there too. And then the Hart Park skate repair, like Travis said before, we did the north skate ramp. We're going to continue going around and fixing sections of them. So we did the worst one first, and now we'll jump to the next one, and we'll keep going through that to keep that that structure up and in good repair. 8202 construction. Megan, do you want to kind of talk on these?
Sure, so this is additional funding that we put into our general fund that will help with the Jefferson Park playground and basketball court landscaping that is to be done. So once those get done in spring, we'll finish up with some of the restoration and landscaping, as well as the concrete around the main pavilion. That will be removed and redone, and we'll look to do that in-house, and that funding will come out of this general budget. So money was added into this 8202 to account for some of that need.
We're also looking ahead to and running conduit under the concrete that's going out there for electrical or any other Wi-Fi or any plug-in stuff that we would need out there, having that under the concrete before we pour, so.
This is for Megan. Megan, do you have a tentative timeframe for when that basketball court would be dedicated?
The goal is to have the west end of the park complete prior to the 4th of July. So that's including basketball court, playground, pavilion, social space.
Prior to the 4th of July.
That is the goal, correct?
And that will be some type of plaque or something that,
Yeah, I think you and I had talked about
Yeah.
incorporating into the landscaping, so something that we were looking at was a large boulder with the plaque on it.
yes. Yes, and then contact me and then I'll help you write up the plaque.
Correct, correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Under the buildings, the 2403, the miscellaneous 22,200, what's the miscellaneous?
So for the buildings, we have listed what we utilize the money for in there, but then the miscellaneous would be a water heater going out, a sink getting broke.
Gotcha.
Any of the general maintenance that we're doing in our
So
buildings
general
is.
maintenance.
Correct.
Thank you.
Just help me with this budget. So you're 8202. I can't find that. I just have 8201.
Oh, yeah, maybe it's labeled wrong.
So I'm just wondering if it's just like that, or if,
It would be 8201.
Is
okay.
it just labeled wrong?
Yeah, that's,
So the slide is wrong.
slide is wrong.
Okay, my apologies. Yes, 8201. I did want to make a note too, when Thad was talking about the renovation of dugouts at Coslow. So typically, the way we've worked it in the last several years is because there are many users of that park, we look for joint cost sharing when it comes to some of those projects. So the school district, and Thad alluded to a donation being made years ago from the Max Club, the athletic club there. So it would be kind of a three-way project or three-way funding to support that. And that's what's happened a lot when it comes to some of the smaller projects, particularly at Coslow. The school district in particular, when it comes to some of the larger project, is helping fund some of the larger renovations or proposals at Coslow.
With the Coslow, I hate to beat on that. You know, we got the Max and the Menasha High, kind of the main users of Coslow. Twins are gone, certain other things are gone. Is there a commitment from the high school saying, okay, we're going to want to stay at Coslow for 10 years or 15 years or something like that? Because we're putting a lot of money in out there. And just kind of curious, because they're talking about maybe going over to youth sports or something, but I don't know. You know, Steve Carl, you know, what his thoughts are, but I don't know if there's a signed contract with any of that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair question, because I know there has been rumblings in the community of, right, the opportunities at youth sports. So I can say I've had several conversations with the school district about park-related projects, and there's several in the next several years in the 5-year CIP. And, they're particularly interested in supporting those projects in which they are benefiting from, whether it be Coslow Park and their use at that baseball diamond, because that is their home field. They have, when sitting down with them probably a month and a half ago, we sat with them, talking about large sums of dollars that they would commit to. One was the replacement of the lighting at Coslow, and I can't remember what other projects.
Coslow 88.
Yeah, the ADA, upgrades of the bathrooms that need to be upgraded because they're not ADA accessible. So I don't think they would have come to the meeting or come with dollars in mind if they're not planning on sticking around, because we're literally talking, 6-digit numbers there when it comes to their commitment to that, as well as, even the small project when it comes to the dugouts at Coslow. They're looking for, enhancements, and they're willing to come cost share that with us. If they were really looking to kind of, sneak out the door and go to another facility, I can't see them coming and talking cost sharing. And so, although I've definitely heard those same rumblings, no, there is no written agreement, but like I said, there is several conversations in which we've talked about not only Coslow, but their commitment to supporting, they use Clovis Grove as their primary location for their playground, as well as the green space. Same with Pleasant Park and that playground and that green space, that they're not saying, hey, this needs to be done here. They're coming and saying, hey, how can we partner together to improve this space? So, yeah, their commitment is there, I would say, with us. And we talked about further commitments with them, and some of that I'll even talk a little bit in the next slide a little bit when it comes to the park employee. Let me flip my screen back here on my laptop. So as was talked a little bit throughout the budget presentation, there was two position changes. So as we talked, I talked on several different slides of the growth we've seen in our department. So with growth comes needs for additional staffing and additional needs. So we're proposing two changes. One is an activity coordinator. So this is a split position. It would be split 70-30 between the senior center and rec. So Chloe is 70% recreation, 30% senior center. This position would be the opposite of that. 70% senior center, 30% rec with a focus on special events. I talked about the increased number of special events. We've increased 11 special events, and not only the number of special events, but the growth and the size of those special events. And we've also, based on the number of programs, the number of registrations that we're seeing, the number of boat launch passes, we were looking originally to add seasonal support in the office. It's not uncommon for recreational departments to have a seasonal administrative assistant or someone of that sort to come in and support, because you're just seeing such a heavy usage in that time of year. So that would be a combination of this. So because this position would be split between senior center and rec, it would fluctuate just as Chloe does. In the summer, you can almost say she's probably 95% rec and 5% senior center, but then in the off season, we look to kind of shift that. So Christine, when she does the health department presentation next week, will talk about this position and what that means at the senior center side of things and creating stability there. So we are looking to do that as well on our side, is that 30%. So it's about a little over 11 hours per week in which this person would work doing special event planning, helping support the admin, doing other recreational, and sometimes they may be within the recreation programs themselves. And then the second position is adding a park technician. So again, we talked about the growth that we've seen. Not only, I showed that first slide since 2009 when you had 8 employees and now just 6 employees, and the growth in our park size, our trail system, but not only that, but all of the recreation programs that we have, the special events. Anytime we grow in one area of our department, it ultimately goes to the park department as well, because they're helping support that. They're helping set up for those special events. They're cleaning those restrooms. They're doing all of that. So with that growth, there has been a need for that. We also do have some large projects online coming up: Jefferson Park, Water Street, Lawson Canal, which will add to that demand as well. We're fortunate enough throughout our discussions with the school district, and they're recognizing their need, that a lot of the spaces that they use we're taking on that burden of service for them, but they are using that as their primary space. Like I talked about, Pleasant Park, Clovis Grove Park, Coslow they use. And so with that, they are looking to subsidize this additional position by about 40%. So that's a significant. We felt that this was an opportune time to add that position. This has been a position that we have talked about for years, honestly, since I've come here to this department, of the need for that, and when is the time to, when can we afford that? When is the time to implement that? And we want to get ahead of the curve. I think our guys, through Travis and Thad's leadership, have done a tremendous job of maintaining our park system. But the demand is continuing to grow. And what I fear is that if we continue to grow too much, that our quality is going to fail and going to falter because of that. And I don't want to see that happen when we've taken such great strides in finding efficiencies and growing our programs and growing our parks, to falter because we didn't take the steps when necessary.
Question for Travis. Thank you. Travis, how have you been able to get those extra workers? Some of those are retired gentlemen, and they've been working for the summer, 600 hours, those type of things. Has that been able to cover you during the summer? And would an additional 1 or 2 of those type of gentlemen cover instead of hiring a full-time person?
During the summer months, they do cover, but with the expansion of our green space, we're kind of, what they get done in a week is pretty much all they can handle for the seasonals.
Okay.
Or the summer seasonals.
Sure.
So if you have any more recommendations, we would definitely take some.
And if I could speak to that as well, just in my time here, it is easier to obtain a year-round, full-time employee than it would be to try and find more seasonals across the board. This year, we were fortunate to be fully staffed, and we're really in the park side, we were only fully staffed till July when one of our guys retired. Then we were down a man, and our parks crew had to pick up that slack. Last year, you guys were what?
We were only down to 2.
Correct. So we started with 4 at the beginning of summer, and by the end of summer, we're down to 2. So now for next year, we would have to find 2 more, and it's honestly not easy to find because the physicality of that job and what we're paying, they can go drive a school bus and make
Sure.
$5 more an hour or something like that. So it's easier for us to obtain a full-time employee and someone that's going to get benefits and a working wage versus trying to solicit or find a retired person and then, try and get them for that 6 months. So could you cover that small window of time? Again, yes, there's a high demand in summer, but that is not the full scope of the needs of the park department as a whole, because it's not just the grass cutting, it's not just what happens in the summer. Like I said, our events, our rec programs, and that green space doesn't stop after August, September, because we're operating all year round. Our trail systems get plowed after every snow event. So when we went from 2.17 miles in 2009 to 7.72 in 2023, that's a significant increase of miles of trails that we need to plow. We're going to increase that again when talking about Water Street, when talking about Lawson Canal development. So you have to think of those long-term things that aren't going to be able to be supplemented by a summer help or seasonal.
And so the park employees do the plowing of the trails then? Got it. Thank you.
So I don't know if you want me to comment or you want to comment about the first position not really being a new position. And then the second position, back in 2008 when I started here, we did have 2 more positions in the park. And as people retired, we could not afford to fill those positions, and we left them vacant, and we filled them with these seasonal positions that you guys were just talking about. So really, this would just bring us back to where we were in 2008. Do you want to talk about activity coordinator? And well, you need to, no, hold on though, because activity coordinator isn't really a new position.
Correct. So at the senior center right now, this position is just under half-time. So it's not completely adding a new position. It's building upon an established position to create more stability on both the senior center side of things and the recreation side of things. So this current individual that's in that role really works in the senior center and on the rec side of things, but creating one position so we provide that stability and that better quality of service.
It's basically merging 2 part-time positions
Correct.
into 1 full-time position.
Correct.
So the park technician's really the only added position.
Correct.
Other questions? I just want everyone to know that.
Yep,
before
that's
we
fair.
moved on.
Appreciate that.
I have one question. So we have a Megan and we have a Chloe 1, so we're going to hire a Chloe 2, kind of, because you're flip-flopping. You're 70 at the rec and 30 senior. Now we're going to hire a Chloe 2 who's 70 senior and 30 rec.
So just as,
Correct?
yeah, but just as Mayor and I just explained, this position is already partially in place at the senior center because they already have an activity corner, but it's just under 50% right now. So it would be expanding that up to 70% at the senior center and then taking what we utilize as kind of a part-time position on the rec side of things and merging into one full-time position.
So this will be one person that's going to fill those like 3 positions or whatever, 3?
Yes.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. It's just merging.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Mhm. Moving into forestry, Mayor's favorite area.
Terrible picture up there on the top.
Sorry.
That was a bass one.
So we did have some great highlights happening in, the budget pages are 379 to 380, if you do want to move to the budget pages. Yeah, yes. We did welcome a new arborist earlier this year. Dylan Wenker came to us from City of Madison. We've been excited to have him. He comes with a lot of great energy and a lot of new ideas. We did celebrate our 40th anniversary of our Tree City USA designation, and we did plant 40 new trees in Barker Farm Park. And that picture on the bottom shows that day and celebrates that day. And then we did continue our EAB management plan. So this is an every other year I shouldn't say in every, we treat every year, but that individual tree only gets treated every other year. So these 61 trees that were treated in 2023 will get treated in 2025, assuming they're still in good condition and good health. So we continue to work on that and hopefully save some of our ash trees. Focuses in 2024 would be celebrating the 150th or the sesquicentennial of Menasha by planting 150 trees. So we're working with the committee on choosing that location. And then we focus a lot on our social media, in particular on our recreation, our events, and we want to continue to expand that. We have great wealth of knowledge and our parks crew and our park system, and one we want to grow and share some of our knowledge and communication from our forestry side and make more awareness of proper tree care, EAB recognition, and benefits of urban forestry. So get some of that out there and expand that knowledge through that. But as far as budgetary changes, you're actually seeing a decrease in this budget. That's simply as we've had a change in staff, whereas the previous arborist benefits plan was a family benefit plan, and this is an individual, so that's why you're seeing that. But otherwise, any of the other lines, you're not seeing any changes within that budget. Thad, you got this one?
Yep, no changes. The cemetery, we don't really have any changes that will be noticeable. It's just we're going to continue maintaining what we have. We have our markers that we need to put out, marking sections that we've been pushing off that we need to get on. So that's the main thing, and a little bit of tree trimming, pruning in there to get everything back up to normal. Buildings and bridges. Bridges, page 385, 387. We have a agreement with the DOT, the state, to pay 50% of our bridge tenders, wages and benefits. So that will be coming out of what we have for our budget as a revenue, but we will be inheriting the rest. So I'm not going to dive too much into it. We kind of figured it out just based off of time that we've spent there, time that we've maintained, the little bit that we've maintained. I've talked to Jim McDowell and went around with the county, watching what they did, kind of getting a baseline of what we're going to need. So we did 5% of 2 mechanics and 10% of one of our street guys for the wages end of it for just our employees. Well, the percentage are our employees too, but our full-time guys. We're thinking that would be pretty close to where we're going to need. The rest of it kind of just falls into play. We did make sure that we're looking at the stuff that is dual, the pest control, the cameras, stuff like that, spraying that we're paying only for Racine Street Bridge, DOTs or states paying for the Taco Bridge. So we do have that all labeled out. So the pest control went from 900 to 450. That'd be half the cameras we're seeing 4 times a year that we have there. Some of the major ones that we're going to have is going to be the bridge inspections. So yearly, we have to do the complex movable bridge inspection, which would be electrical and mechanical of the opening and closing of the bridge, the beginning of the year before the opening starts. And we're looking at around $7,000 for the electrical, $7,500 for the mechanical, and that's each year. So that would be a yearly item that we would be tackling there. And then we have our 5-year plan, or every other year that would be fracture critical done. And that's inspecting all the beams, everything under the bridge, to make sure that that's going to be completed. They're saying with a yearly inspection with the structural guy there doing the lift portion of the bridge, shouldn't really fluctuate much doing the rest of it, so we should still be planning for the 14.5 for that. Come on.
One real quick question. I know you mentioned about the 14,500, but I'm looking at that management where it says inspections. I think it's 2106.
It says 16,000?
16,000, so I'm kind of figuring.
Yeah, I didn't get there yet.
Okay, sorry.
So the routine inspections that we do through the county, they do all of our bridges right now, and that's every 2 years. They would be doing they would be assisting us, we would be learning how to do it. They would do TACO, we would do Racine at the same time. We would have our jet truck cleaning TACO. They would come and help us with the inspection, the routine inspection on the bridge deck, stuff like that. It's kind of a swap deal. They would have two guys in our jet truck cleaning out their pit. They'd come help us clean out our pit and then do the inspection on the surface. So that would be every 2 years. And then there is a 5-year underwater that needs to be done. And I do not have a cost on that yet. This took a while just to get these kind of wrapped up. So
What do you mean by underwater?
it's an underwater inspection of the structure itself. So it's a diver that goes under and inspects. What do we got here? So the other one, specialized equipment we have in there, we're looking at 2,500 brakes, bearings, the barricade arms. We have 16 footers, we have 21 footers, and they're different on each side. Those need to be taken down yearly. So before winter starts, those barricades come down. We take them into the shop. The high storms, the state has recommended to take them down. They'll blow over and they'll break. So we need to take them off. There's some other little bits of stuff that goes into that to be able to make them, excuse me, to be able to make them easily detached. They don't have the quick connects, anything like that, so we'll have a little bit of money going into that with some electrical and getting that wrapped up. But the 16-foot arms, $240 each. We need 2 of them. 21 footers, $305 each. And then, like I said, the brakes, the bearings, we don't know what we're gonna have, so we have to put a little more in there for that kind of maintenance on that. The tools and equipment, we have 1,500 in there this year. We're starting off, we're gonna need some stuff. The grease guns that they have were the construction companies, and with all the greasing they have down there, they have battery-powered grease guns to do this, to make it more efficient. So we have 2 grease guns on here and a ladder. And then grease, excuse me. Sorry, that was, yeah, tools and equipment. Then jumping down to supplies, we have, excuse me, 8,500 in there. It seems high for supplies, but this is gonna be the grease, the oil, the filters, miscellaneous parts, et cetera. We're gonna be looking at, or 1,500, or the parts and et cetera is a 1,500. The sealer for the bridge deck itself, with the cracking, stuff like that, I think it's gonna be a good idea to seal it and get that, to maintain that cap on there. What's that?
When will you be doing that?
This would be the spring when we have the bridge shut down for the inspections and everything that we have. So 55 gallons of the sealing for the deck is, we need 4 of them, and it's $7,000. So that's where we're getting to our 8,500 on that line. I asked a lot of questions. I talked to a lot of people that have been involved in this with the county and the state to be able to come up with kind of an educated guess on this. And so I think we're gonna be pretty good with it, but we don't know breakdown, stuff like that, what kind of stuff we could be getting into, so.
Yeah, I do want to give kudos to Thad because he has spent a lot of time learning what it would take, for us when that time comes and when we're truly operating and owning that bridge, of what it's going to take to maintain this. So you can see just by his explanation that there's a lot that goes into it, of the needs of the maintenance and the inspections, and so giving a full scope of that.
So Thad, I have one question for you on that. I know that we're in the midst of crack sealing, even on Southfield Drive. Crack sealing, because obviously when water gets in the cracks, then you create potholes and all that other good stuff. So we're going to crack seal the bridge with the few cracks that's on the bridge right now. We're not gonna crack seal it until the spring. So, but we're doing the streets in the wintertime, or in the fall, to prevent the water from getting in these cracks. So why aren't we doing the bridge to prevent water from getting in the cracks on the bridge now?
It's been done.
Just curious.
So for spring, what we're going to do for the cracks that are on there is going to be looking at grinding out the cracks that they have, epoxy filling them, and then sealing over the top of that. The timeline that they have given us for the bridge being ours or not ours, or however it's determined, I don't know, that's not my decision on that, but it's not the time of year to be doing that kind of stuff with epoxy. The rubberized joint sealer can be used at different temperatures, epoxy cannot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, those cracks are different than a crack seal in a street, but anyways, and I think some of that's been done already.
Yes, you'll see the yellowing on it.
But, well, first, I wasn't even going to ask this, but now that you had this conversation, you know, the Post-Crescent allegedly reported that we own the bridge now as of September 5th. And I guess my question would be to the city attorney, do we own that bridge yet? Because I thought we had a letter sent asking for having some completions and some issues that we might have with the bridge, and I don't think all of those have been followed through on.
And it's a matter of statute, and it's an interpretation of the statute from what we interpret and they interpret. So right now, we can't really discuss that
All
any
right.
further.
I understand. You can leave it at that. Okay. So just for the public then, I just want the public to realize is that we have a 50% increase in this budget because at some point we will have to take ownership of this bridge and maintain it. And remember, it's a new bridge, so these are low cost.
This is more than 50, it's 50% just for the bridge tenders' wages and benefits. So
Okay.
it's going to come in around that we're going to have 105,000 that we'll be paying out of the 155 that we have budgeted will be our portion of the bridge.
Okay, thank you. So, and I guess more or less, these costs might be a little upfront for now because we're just starting out. But, you know, 15, 20 years from now, or even maybe 5 years from now, holy smokes. I don't know what this budget's going to be like, so.
So the last item that we have, nope, sorry. Yeah, it is the last item, isn't it?
Marina.
Marina? Am I done with that one?
No, he needs to do building maintenance yet. No, it'll be up next.
All right.
He's,
Building maintenance includes city center, rent, overall shared, office supplies, maintenance related to the city hall. I believe the rent went up this year
slightly.
a little bit.
It'll, yeah, based on the rental agreement, it'll go up.
But other than that, the only thing we really have is in there is doing some doors and creating some office space up in the open areas of the building. So no significant changes beyond that. The marina highlights, we added a wireless access point, and Emily, Megan, do you want to
Sure.
talk a little more on that?
Yeah, so working with our IT, it was recognized that we needed another wireless access point over there to increase some of the service for the marina renters, as well as provide some continuity to our IT network. So that was included in 2023's budget. And then I did want to note that we did increase our slip rental revenue by $23,000 this year. So it has been some rough years at the marina. You know, it was COVID in 2020, and then we've had the bridge construction. And so, you know, gas sales, slip rentals certainly have been lower, but we're seeing that definitely increase. Diane has been a staple there, and her daughter Raina do a great job overseeing the operations and building that rapport with the marina renters. Certainly there's challenges in boating in general, and particularly in this location. As far as boating in general, you're just seeing a change in the way people boat, the size of boats that they have. And particularly when looking at the way we rent by the foot is what they pay by. So you don't see as many large cruisers as maybe what you saw years ago. So, you know, we're excited to see the rental revenue increase again. But boating has changed, which also means your gas sales change. You don't have those large cruisers buying the hundreds and hundreds of gallons of gas versus a pontoon. So we're making those adjustments, and we're trying to be mindful. And certainly, it hinders our operations and our revenue streams when the lock continues to stay closed. You don't have that boat traffic flowing. Winnebago are coming to a dead-end space to come get their gas. And so that's a cognizant choice of theirs. Diane is very good about monitoring her gas prices in comparison to other ones around the lake, and hopefully drawing people off the lake in comparison to them maybe going down to Oshkosh or other locations where they can get gas, because she wants to lure them down. So Diane is really thoughtful of the way she approaches building revenue and building that rapport with those people down there. So we're looking to continue to have a good year in 2024 and hopefully fill that marina again. We'll be looking at some of our rental policies when it comes to the new additions of having Bryn here, and potentially some of those renters looking to have space along the Riverwalk and what that might look like. We have to be cognizant still of boat traffic. So we'll be reviewing some of our policies as related to navigation and docking and things like that along the Riverwalk as this area changes in general down here in the downtown area. As far as some related budgetary items, our new building supervisor that we hired, I think he came on board in June. We would just be sending to him for some training for marina electrical systems. It's a little bit different than your standard electrical. He is a journeyman electrician, so he has that knowledge, but this is some specialized training. And then Thad works well with Diane. Diane always provides us thorough, comprehensive list of some maintenance needs around there. So one of the bigger projects is some of the slabs along Main Street, or along that fence line along Main Street, where there's some heaving and mudslides and things like that. Just working on fixing some of those small maintenance issues around there.
And there'll be cleaner water.
Let's hope we have a little more natural rainwater to help with that. So that does conclude our budget presentation. So I appreciate all of your patience and good questions throughout the evening. Anything else before we wrap up?
We have nothing else. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.